A little bit of pushback on the pro-Israel side, a little bit of pushback on that. And that's basically what Corey was doing, and I think that hurt her. I'm not so sure this time. That may help her this time, having that
Yeah, Ed,
pushback.
what do you think? I mean, I think that Wesley Bell would be the favorite, but we've been caught off guard even in that district before when Lacey Clay was taken down by her. So I don't know where Democrats in St. Louis would be on that particular race, and with low turnout in the county, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Well, I think what Wesley has going for him is he's done a decent job. He's been bringing money back, and he's got over $1 million in the bank. Last time I looked, Corey only had 100,000, so he has the resources needed to get his message out. I think,
but I mean, he'd have to use those resources in the next 5 weeks because he's not going to have to. Once he wins the primary, it's pretty much over.
That's correct. And I think in order for Corey to win, she really has to overproduce in St. Louis City, and I just haven't seen the excitement yet for her. I think Wesley's going to do fine in the county, but again, I think we have to see what kind of excitement there is for Corey. But I think Wesley's going to win.
I think it's going to be a lot closer than we thought it was going to be.
Well, that's kind of my feeling just based on what we saw. But look, it's weird. You guys are in this political business, of course. Ed, you're a consultant, but it just seems like a weird time. You got the primary coming up here. I think a lot of people are holding until after the holiday, and people are on vacation. So after the 4th of July, I'm assuming there's going to be a lot more money being spent. Now, I will say this, and I'll have to plead ignorance a little bit. I do not watch a lot of local television. Like, I watched a little bit when the NBA Finals and maybe stuff on Fox now with the World Cup, but I'm not watching local news, so I'm not seeing in the ads. We have some that are running right now. I don't have a good sense of who's spending money and who's not spending money. One of the things we also talked about before the show was, look, there's a big primary for the St. Louis County Executive, and I think that is a dramatically quiet race right now. Dennis Hancock, and Chief, you're working on Dennis's team, right?
That's right.
He's the Republican candidate who is he even challenged at all on the ballot?
There's no primary.
So he will be the general election candidate, but Senator Brian Williams and Jake Zimmerman, who is the county assessor, and also one other candidate,
Angela Mosley,
is in that race. So, again, Brian Williams would be the prohibitive favorite. Ed, you're working with Senator Williams, right?
Correct, yes.
But again, this is a turnout election, and is there a shot? You said your theory is what? I mean, there's a possibility
my theory
here.
is it's potential that Angela Mosley and Brian Williams split the vote, in specifically North County vote, and Jake wins. That's entirely possible. I think there's going to be a fair number of Republicans that will grab Democrat ballots in August, mainly because there's really nothing on the Republican ballot. There's no primary issues. You have the same
all the
amendments.
issues are still on the same
That's
ballot, right?
That's right. You have the same. So I think a lot of Republicans will do that because they want to say in the county executive. And I think for Dennis Hancock, his best opponent is probably Jake Zimmerman.
Right, running against the guy that's taxing your house is probably not the worst thing. I always find it interesting. I do think that there have been instances, I'm going to take a little credit because he gave me credit even though he went to federal prison, but Steve Stanger, when we got people to cross over in that race, I think that was significant. Sometimes you wonder how many people are actually doing that. Yeah. But you're saying the motivation might be for Republicans to vote for Jake because he's the easier person to defeat.
Absolutely. I mean, that's my take on it. A lot of Republicans will never grab a Democrat ballot. They just won't. But in this particular case, they have nothing to lose by grabbing a Democrat ballot other than to help the Republican candidate for county executive.
One thing and we're not going to have a roundtable next week because of the 4th of July, so this will be the last roundtable before our 250th anniversary. And I know that everyone in this room, proud Americans, and we can't wait to see the celebration. There was an interesting piece today that was in the Federalist by a guy by the name of John David Danielson. I might have a chance to get him on the air on Monday, but essentially the column that he wrote, and I think that this piggybacks off of what we saw in New York this week, talks about how there's a lot of young people, and we've seen this in indoctrination in schools, that are really being drawn to this socialism, right? Not only that, they're being taught to hate our country. They're being brought up to only see the flaws. And certainly we are a young country. We have flaws. There's been stains in our past. There's no doubt about it. It's not perfect, but it's just shocking to me. And when you look at some of this polling, even in your party in particular, Ed, these are people that don't like our country. They don't believe in it. They don't think that capitalism has any merits. That's the kind of stuff that scares the hell out of me.
Mark, like I told you at the top of the hour, I just don't understand young people. I think, look, at the end of the day, do I like this president? No, I hate the guy. Am I proud to be an American? Yeah, I really am. But again, I think part of this is generational. I mean, folks under a certain age, again, the things that they had to grow up with are a little different than what I had to grow up with. But I just don't understand what's driving their thought process. And again, I mean, I understand the hatred towards Donald Trump, but again, I don't understand the hatred towards our country. I mean, where else would you rather live?
One of the
Honestly.
things that John pointed out here, and let me just read a little bit from this. He goes, the story told about America's founding by the corporate media, book publishers, libraries, and other institutions is one in which the Christian faith, so central to our history and founding, which is true, is almost wholly absent. And he's not even saying that anecdotally. He says a report by the conservative book publisher Brave Books analyzed 300 books across 25 reading lists curated by children's publishers, public libraries, and other institutions for our country's upcoming anniversary. The report found that these lists contained 0 titles that directly addressed religious liberty, faith, or the role of Christianity in the founding of the United States. So that's one angle there. He's complaining about that. But, beyond the Christian angle, the left-wing propaganda, which really tries to erode patriotism, it reframes American history. You can go to the 1692 Project and all these other things that have been flawed. But you have generations of Americans where we were brought up, and I remember, Sue and I have talked about this, I remember 1976. I don't think my
Yeah.
daughter, I was 11 years old, the same age as my daughter is. My daughter's not going to remember 2026. I just don't think she will. And I'm not putting blame on anyone, but because the country is so split, I just think that taints not our country's anniversary, but the celebration that should be forthcoming because too many people are tribal.
Yeah, I remember the bicentennial well. I was in high school.
Yeah.
So remember it well. We had special license plates and all kinds of stuff then.
Put stuff on our bikes
we
and
just
ribbons.
don't have much over this, so why? What's the difference? Why is it so low-keyed this time? I don't understand.
Remember they painted all the fire hydrants red, white, and blue? And everywhere you went, there was red, white, and blue. And we learned at school different patriotic songs, and we did plays and all that kind of stuff. It was a thing.
Well, one of the things that John writes here, and this is sort of in reaction to what happened with these candidates in New York, Darlisa Avila Chevalier was the founder of the Columbia University Apartheid Divest Group, anti-American, anti-Semitic. So his point is, these are people, and look, we've heard from African Americans in this past week. Even I think a WNBA player says, I'm not celebrating that birthday because, of slavery. So you have people that are not able to, they feel, celebrate 250 years of American history because they're ashamed of the history and they're opposed to the existence of America as it is today. So these are radical candidates. They don't like capitalism, right? They're certainly favoring socialism. The message is resonating. I just think it's sad overall, and I hope that people are able to come around. This is the greatest country on the planet. Tim, you go all around. You travel all around the world. You, of all people, probably have the best perspective in this room of how great a country this is and how we take for granted our freedoms and liberties.
I've been to 40 countries so far, more to follow. And I will tell you that every time I land back in the U.S., I'm almost like the Pope. I get down and kiss the ground.
Yeah.
Because it's so different in these other parts. I was just recently in Nigeria, in Lagos, Nigeria. If you don't have an appreciation for your American life, go to a place like Lagos, Nigeria, or even Johannesburg. I was in Johannesburg also. And this is the best and the greatest country in the world, but it's because of what everybody's done to bring it to where it was. No, we're not perfect. That doesn't mean you don't celebrate.
So,
it.
I have a great story that I like to share from a year ago, and this was when I was in, you guys know this, and certainly soon the audience knows a little bit of this. I was in the depths of my anxiety and depression just a year ago, and I missed 8 weeks of work, and I remembered it was right around this time that I had an incident where I drove to get a haircut, and I should not have been driving. I was very disoriented, so I made the right call, and I called an Uber to go back home on that Saturday. It was a Saturday morning. This guy picks me up. Black dude from, I think maybe from Ghana. He was from Africa. He had the American hat on, stars and stripes on his hat. And his English was really good. He had been here for a while. But I just started, and I like doing this every once in a while, if it seems like this guy just seemed like a vibe that I could talk to. And we just started talking about America and how much he loved America and the things. And I asked him, I said, well, what is it? And one of the things that he brought up is, and I've been to one third world country. I've been down to Honduras, where they don't have running water and they don't have, heat and electricity. And he brings up water. He goes, you have running water. He goes, you have no idea how big of a deal that is. Because where I come from, we can't guarantee that we have that or electricity. So those are the little things. But then he expressed the bigger things, the things that we get to do, the freedoms, the liberties, all these things that we take for granted. I think a lot of people, where you even compare, and I will say this, and I think you guys would agree, even state by state, Missouri, we're a good example of a lot more freedoms than the nanny states of California and Illinois and New York. But I loved talking to that guy. I had a Cuban Uber driver in Vegas years ago. Same thing. She was so proud to be an American and to be part of our experiment. where are those young American people? Why do they have to be people? And by the way, those are immigrants that I don't hate because they went through the process legally.
Because those young American children have been handed everything. That's all they know.
Well, there is truth to that, too. And some of us are responsible for that because we're
Not
bad
all of them.
parents, right?
Not all of them are that way, but there's a fair amount that this is how they've grown up. This is what they know. They've never had to work for anything. They've never had to work for something, then somebody come around and take half of it away from them and then hand off to somebody else. They haven't experienced that yet. I mean, the really only old socialist we have in this country is Bernie, right? Sanders. Most people, if you start off that way, you'll flip at some point. So, that's the thing about the Democratic Party. It's so young. They have all these young people in there. But at some point, they'll probably flip back over and go, wait a minute, this isn't turning out the way I thought it was
Well,
going
let's
to.
hope so. Hang on. Ed Rohde, Tim Fitch here on the Reardon Roundtable on a Friday. We're back with more.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we still have wet roadways out there, and here's some good news. They are announcing, MoDOT, that they're going to reopen 44 between the Poplar Street Bridge and the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge this afternoon. Now, they didn't say what time, so I sent an email and said, and I think it's purposeful. So I'm not sure that they've decided when, but that should be reopened sometime this afternoon. I did ask them in that email. I'll let you know what they say. Now, eastbound 270, a little bit of a slow go as you head for the Chain of Rocks Bridge. 70 looks good out of downtown, a little slow at Lindbergh. Eastbound 70 slow, headed for Wentzville. We've got westbound 6440 lined up Kings Highway out through McCausland. Eastbound slowing at Big Bend. And as you head into Illinois, it's a jam already on the Poplar Street Bridge. Also, eastbound 64, slowing at 255. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
As an added traffic note, Sue Thomas had to navigate the Pride Parade and Fest obstacles, we'll say, downtown.
Yeah, it's not great.
I've forgotten about them 3 days in a row.
Same
you would
here.
think that by the third day I'd say, okay,
Yes.
I kind of know where I'm going. Nope, I screwed it up too.
Me too.
So I can relate. Let's talk about MasterCars Inc. I heard from Alex Rosenberger yesterday. It's great to hear from him. He and his father, Gary, run MasterCars Inc., father and son company, new car caliber, but used cars. And a perfect real-life example is I'm going to probably have to, cut him in on some of this too. Dave Klein, producer emeritus, was looking for a Chevy Suburban. He's got a big family. He's got 2 twins, another boy, and then he had a surprise child after he had his vasectomy that failed. I always like to point that out. Poor Dave.
It's a good story.
He had a great plan. It was COVID year. He's like, I'm going to take off. It's the first weekend of the NCAA basketball tournament, and I'm going to have my frozen peas on my lap the whole weekend. Well, the vasectomy failed, and he had another child. So that's the real story there. But going back to MasterCars Inc., he needed a Suburban. Those are expensive vehicles. So he goes to Alex and says, hey, can you find me one that's got some miles, that is still in great shape and dependable? Boom. That's what they do for people. Now, you're looking for some fun cars. They have a 66 Ford Mustang Coupe on the lot right now. They have a lot of Corvettes because they're the Corvette Kings. They have cool Harleys, too, and even some other vehicles that are random when it comes to motorcycles and cars. They can get you covered on anything you're looking for, though. MasterCars Inc. in Granite City at mastercarsinc.com.
One of the biggest gifts you can give your family is peace of mind. That's why I trust and recommend Civia Law. They've helped so many families, including mine, right here in our community with estate planning, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, and elder law issues. I've seen how stressful it can be when a loved one passes without a plan. Families are left confused, sometimes tied up in probate court, and it can cost so much in time and money. But with Civia Law, you don't have to worry about that. They'll walk you through everything and even deliver your completed documents in just 2 weeks from your first appointment. And here's something special just for you. Mention the Annie Fry Show, and the first 10 listeners right now will get a free strategy session. That's a $300 value. 833-995-WILL. Just be sure to mention the Annie Fry Show when you call. Civia Law has 7 convenient locations across Illinois and Missouri, including in Edwardsville, Swansea, and Creve Coeur. Secure your legacy and protect the people you love. Call 833-995-WILL. That's 833-995-WILL, or visit civialaw.com.
Hi, Sandy. What's that?
I'm reading up on this Amendment 4 on the August ballot.
What's for? Amendment 4 absurdly creates a new un-American minority veto power, but only for ballot issues that we citizens put on the ballot.
Don't they say it'll protect conservative ideas?
Truth gets in the way of their story. Amendment 4 would mean as few as 5% of the most liberal statewide voters in one congressional district could veto any good conservative idea or reform, even when a big majority supports it.
That does sound un-American. How did that get on the ballot?
The politicians put it there, and it would empower a small minority of liberals. They could stop funding for police, stop tax cuts, or any other common sense conservative policy we support.
Only 5%? One district? That would make it nearly impossible to pass needed reforms or rein in politicians.
Yep, Amendment 4 is a misguided power grab by politicians. I'm voting no on Amendment 4.
Right. I'm not giving up my constitutional rights. It's a hard no on 4.
Paid for by Missourians for Fair Governance.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Friday afternoon on The Mark Reardon Show. Don't forget in the next hour, Sue will have Sue's News for Friday. Paul Hall has a bevy, kind of like that word, of entertainment offerings both in the theaters and streaming. The new Supergirl. I'm hearing woke Supergirl is out there, but we'll find out. I don't know if you saw that one. We'll have former United States Senator Jim Talent in the 5 o'clock hour, and then Tim Sommer talking some music in the 5 o'clock hour before audio cut of the day. Former St. Louis County Councilman and former St. Louis County Police Chief Tim Fitch is on the panel. Political consultant Ed Rohde with me this afternoon as well. So, let's just start with the poop in the box story here, just because I can't resist it. But there's a firefighter that was caught on camera, a guy who's been in the department for 3 decades, out at the airport in where they store some of the food, that decided to defecate in a box. Now, was it an emergency? We all have to go when we have to go. Was it something more than that? He's been put on administrative leave. It's more concerning, I think, because there was food preparation. I don't know the circumstance here. However, we may educate people on something, because, Chief Fitch, you're telling me that there's a condition that's psychologically connected to this, possibly?
There absolutely is. It's called encopresis. So,
and you're being serious here?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
I'm very
all right.
serious. So this isn't the first time I've heard of this
Okay.
happening. So we had, in St. Louis County government, we had an employee at the county courthouse years ago that would wipe feces on the men's room walls and things like that, and it was occurring over and over and over again. So basically they figured out who it was, and he was sent to the psychiatrist, and that's what he said, is he's got a mental health condition
that relates
causes him to do this.
specifically to.
Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
interesting.
That's right, if we want to go there. So, this firefighter, I'd be curious to know if this is a habitual thing. It's happened before. I don't know the answer to that. If that was in the news part of the story, I don't know. But if he has, now I did notice in the story, it said, we've removed him from duty at the airport. Well, that means he's back in a firehouse in the city of St. Louis.
Well, that's what I was saying. I'd like Chief Jenkerson to let me know what the hell the deal is here. But
if they don't know, they need to have this guy go to the shrink and see, because it's treatable.
But is that something where, because it's a psychological disorder potentially, that the worker is somewhat protected? I mean, the union might even get involved there, right?
Well, it could be an ADA issue. I mean, it could be one of those kind of issues.
I can't believe that we're talking about this, but
I said if you want to go there, so
the thing that bothered me is what it's going to cost the taxpayers, because they had to get rid of all that
the food,
right?
Yeah.
And then the city had to reimburse to replace all that food,
right?
I mean, that's the part that kind of bothered me.
Well, there's a lot of parts of it that should bother you for sure. Yesterday, I didn't have Catherine Hanaway on the show. I had David Amilati from Channel 4, but he had sat down with Chris Saraceno and the AG and also the governor, talking about some of the crime issues. And one of the things that, popped from his discussion, not that it's anything new, and Chief, I'll start with you, is a consolidation of a lot of the local police departments. We have too many, in my opinion, but that seems like one of those things that we've talked about before. We tried the county-city merger. No one wanted to go for that. I was in favor of that at the time, because I thought it was an opportunity to do something different in this region that maybe we'd never be able to do again, and I think that's kind of what happens. But on the policing front, is there realistically any path to consolidating or not?
Sure.
There is.
I will tell you, I started law enforcement in St. Louis County in 1983. From that point to today, there are 18 less police departments in St. Louis County.
Really?
So it's happening already. It's happening organically. So think about who's no longer in business. Charlac's gone. Wellston's gone. Kinloch's gone. St. George is gone. So I could keep naming these off. There's 18 that
they've
disappeared.
all evaporated.
They've all
okay.
They've either been
and those are the
absorbed-
ones
pretty
that
small.
Yep.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
those were always the ones that we would mention,
Well,
right?
Let's talk about some that weren't so small. Fenton is gone. Fenton used to have its own police force.
So
That's
they
you.
work with St. Louis County, right?
Some of them do. Some, like Oakland, contracts with Kirkwood.
But like I see some vehicles in some police cruisers that will say St. Louis County Police and then they'll say Fenton on it. So
Wildwood, same
yeah,
way. So
right.
Wildwood's a big municipality. They use the county. So
Well, that's
there's
smart.
already some of that going on. Here's the problem with some of these resources is St. Louis County is becoming a pretty well-paid agency. So they're starting to price themselves out of some of the business. So you saw what popped up in North County. It's called the North County Police Cooperative. Basically, some of those cities got rid of the county police and said, let's just go with, it's Veneta Park is who runs the North County Cooperative. And so they just couldn't afford St. Louis County services anymore, so they've gone to a lower-paying police department. And I will still tell you that's better than what they had. It is
Okay,
definitely
I was
better what
going to
they had.
ask.
So
But in
this
order,
will
just to be
continue.
clear here on this, so the St. Louis County has some sort of relationship with Fenton or whatever the other municipality would be, and then they are invoiced for that particular service. They're not getting it for free.
100%,
Right.
100%.
Okay.
St. Louis County Police, they're the sheriff of the county. They're required to enforce state law everywhere in the county, but not provide local law enforcement. That's done by either your own police force or you pay the county to do it.
Oh, wow.
So that's what Fenton does in Wildwood and Blackjack and places like that. But, Catherine's comments were about if we get rid of all these police chiefs, there's like 55 more police officers we put on the street.
Right.
I got news for you, General. A lot of these small police departments, their chiefs actually work the street. They do the same job as a police officer, and they're also the chief, okay? So I have a relationship. I do some volunteer work for Ellisville Police in West County. It's a small police force, about 25 cops, small, but they're well-trained. They're well-funded. The community loves them. If you try to get rid of them, I think there'd be a revolt.
Right. Well,
in
and I've
Ellisville.
seen, and you're right
Yeah.
about that because I've seen some of that when we've brought these things up before. Where the community, I brought this up yesterday. So I'm like, look, a lot of these communities are like, wait a second, we like the way things are going, right?
That's exactly right. So, and my feeling is if the community wants to pay for their own police department and they're well-trained and well-funded, why not? Let
Well,
them do it.
here's
now,
where-
if they're smart, when they have something very serious, let's say it's a whodunit murder,
They call someone in.
they call the county in or they call the major case squad
Right.
in or whoever. The ones that get in trouble is where they try to do it themselves and they've never worked a murder before.
Right.
Those kind of things. But most of them are pretty good about
Ed,
it.
you were going to
Well,
say
I
something.
got to say, so for full disclosure, I worked on the Better Together proposal, and this was one of our things, and I support it strongly. I know Tim is the expert on policing, but from my perspective, we have a really great St. Louis County Police Department, CLIA certified, right? Some of these municipalities, I got a real problem with some of them because I don't feel like the officers are trained, and some of them have been fired by 2 or 3 different departments, and then they end up in some of these North County municipalities, and they're providing bad servicing, right? So I think if we're able to get rid of some of these municipalities and bring them into St. Louis County, I think that's a good thing. When I talk to some African-American friends that live in North County, they're like, look, we want more policing. We just want better trained policing. And I think the municipalities aren't providing that, which is quite frankly how we got into in my opinion, into the Michael Brown situation in the first place.
Is there some truth to that in some of the smaller departments?
We'll use Hillsdale for an example. Hillsdale is a very small, impoverished community, and they're trying to support a police department. What are they doing recently to raise money in Hillsdale? You've been following the story
No.
where they went to Rittner High School
No.
acting as immigration officers? How close is Rittner High School to Hillsdale?
Not.
They're over there talking to kids to find out their immigration status because they're being paid by immigration authorities. They're getting money for doing that. That's the wrong way to use law enforcement.
Right.
I felt the same way about speed cameras and red light cameras. You should not be using those or any kind of traffic tickets to raise revenue for your city.
Right.
You should be able to support them. If you can't, go to Plan B, which is contract with a neighbor, contract with the county, but get out of that business. But thankfully, we don't have a whole lot of Hillsdales left in St. Louis County. There's still some.
All right, Ed Rohde, Tim Fitch here on the panel. Let me shift here. We haven't talked about Iran, so let's do that. The president talking a little bit today about the drone attack that happened in the Strait.
They're not winning or anything, but they have some capability. They can still shoot. They shot a drone yesterday at a big ship going into the Hormuz Strait. They shot 4 of them. We knocked down 3 of them. One of them, I guess, we didn't miss it. Nobody saw it coming. And it hit a ship and did some damage. You can't do that stuff.
So I've been pretty critical of the memo of understanding. I think a lot of my guests have been as well, because it's somewhat confusing. And, I don't think we're getting the stated goals going into this back at us. The president is sticking by his guns, though, at this point. And, we have gas prices that are still hovering very, very high. He doesn't seem concerned because he thinks that those will go down very fast. I do not think they'll go down really fast. But what kind of political trouble is the president in right now on Iran, or will this all pass like some things do with this administration, Tim?
The gas by my house this morning was $3.66 a gallon for the cheap gas, $3.66 at the Circle K. At one time, it was $4.27, so it has started to go down. It's not where it was before the war, that's for sure. So will this hurt the president for the midterms? I think it will somewhat. But I also will tell you, I have kind of a deep knowledge of the Middle East as well when it comes to these things.
Because you travel there a lot.
A lot.
Right.
Yeah. So what I will tell you is there's a lot of rogue military people in Iran. And could they say, I know what my government wants to do. They want to open up the strait. But guess what? I'm going to launch some of these and do that? Absolutely. These rogue military commanders that don't take orders from anybody but themselves or their local tribe, they will do that. So I think we're going to continue to see these one-offs like we saw in the strait yesterday. And the president, I don't know, has much control over that or the MOU.
So I don't want to get your response, but let me just play this. This is General Jack Keane, and he's been really, really critical lately of just this deal and how it's being executed. And one of the things he says, and I think this is one of our concerns, is that Iran kind of thinks they're running the show here.
The reality is, Iran, when they look at the Straits of Hormuz and what they were able to achieve when they first shut it down on 2 March, that is stuck in their head. They believe this gives them geopolitical advantage over their adversaries, the Gulf states in the region, and also some leverage with the United States. And now, why did they shoot at that ship? Well, because it was in a lane that they didn't want them to be in, a lane that's much closer to Oman and where U.S. military forces are.
So, one of the criticisms by people even on the right here is that the stated goals and the time frame have gotten way, way out of whack here. The president kind of sticking to his guns. You have to wonder, I don't know who he's talking to, but they seem pretty convinced that the people that they're talking to are doing the proper negotiation. But then the first time that you have anything that becomes messaging from the Iranians, it's totally opposite than what we're saying, right? What Rubio's saying. So it's really difficult to know, which is why I can't really put trust in the memo of understanding.
Well, here's the thing, too. The Trump administration has fallen into the same trap that Biden did, right? They're saying, oh, the economy's okay, everything's okay, inflation's fine. That's not what's going on. I mean, Democrats are going to kill Republicans this November because the CPI number just came in hot again earlier this week, twice what it's supposed to be. Gas prices are still high. They're not coming down. I mean, the reason that they're staying where they are is because Trump's been pulling from the strategic reserve, which is down to its lowest level since 1984, okay? We've got about another month to 6 weeks before this thing's going to be out. I mean, the Iranians are actually smart, I think, because they're dragging this thing out. They're going to bring Trump to his knees. And if they drag this out another 4 weeks and the petroleum reserve is empty, what are we going to do?
Aren't you surprised by the amount of patience that he has with militarily? Because, this is not the guy. That's the reaction to this. That's what maybe gives me some hope that there's diplomacy that's real. But look, you look at the polling that's come out about this. A lot of people going in were hoping for regime change. Well, that's not going to happen without force, right? So that presents problems. And now you have, what are we down to, 54 days or whatever the window is. And do you think that even though gas prices have slipped a little, that they'll be low at the end of the summer? I don't.
I do. I think they're going to come down. They're going to continue to come down. But what I think is it gets closer to the midterms, you're going to see Iran doing more what they did yesterday, testing Trump, because they're trying to push him. They're trying to get him to do something that's going to hurt him even more. But
because he backed off, even like when you talk about the obliteration, we're going to obliterate, we're going to wipe him off the planet. Well, then, a couple weeks ago, he said, look, we're not going to hit the water infrastructure because then you got people, the Iranian citizens. So he is empathetic to not taking out infrastructure that's going to hurt the masses. But, there was an image today, either in the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, of an attack that the Iranians, had on one of our military bases, and they flattened it. So, they had some capability to strike back. There's no doubt about that, right? So I don't know where this takes us at this point. You think people are dialed in on Iran? Do they support it? Do they not support it? Do they just look at the gas prices?
Well, I think Democrats are pretty fired up about this. Affordability is going to be an issue, and I can't speak for the Republicans, but I see Tucker Carlson and others sort of walking away from the president.
Yeah,
over
but those
this
are the
war.
crazy people. Okay, you got to
He
at
was
least. If
walking
we're going
away
to talk
before
about
the war.
we're going to talk about people walking away from the president. And by the way, anyone that's doing that is either not up for re-election or they're rogue and they're kind of crazy at this point. Do I think there's people on Capitol Hill that are being a little quiet publicly? Sure, because I know some of them, right? But I also think that you can't take away everything that this president has achieved by this point. And I've been the first to admit that sometimes I underestimate him on things. I think the tariffs are a really good example of that. So is there a window for things to settle down? Yes, but I'm kind of with Ed, where I think the Iranians are going to still poke the bear as much as they can.
I do too. That's what I said. I said I think they're going to continue to push Trump, hoping he does something that makes it worse.
Hang on. More of the Roundtable coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we've got an accident northbound 270 past Dorset. I just put it up on X at Susan6768. The left lanes are blocked and traffic is jammed back through Page. Now, 55 southbound is pretty slow in the construction zone on either side of Highway M. We've got westbound 6440 lining up, approaching Hampton, out through McCausland. Eastbound a little slow east of 170. And then westbound slows again just past Lake St. Louis Boulevard through the 70 split. Southbound 61 is jammed at 64. Eastbound 70 slow at Wentzville. And let's see, 70 westbound, not bad out of downtown. Moderate volume, though, as you head for 270. Now, MoDOT has already reopened eastbound 44 between the Poplar Street Bridge and the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge. They're going to open westbound too. They just haven't said when exactly that will happen this afternoon. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Don't you have the power and the sway to say, hey,
I do not.
Tell me when that's going to open? All right, we'll keep you posted, though.
Hey, Stewie, I need some cash. I need money. Who doesn't need money? What can you do for me?
You know, and Annie, this is a question people ask all the time. Now, pay attention because this is important. Don't get a home equity line of credit. A home equity line of credit is a credit card in your house. It's typically not a fixed rate, so it's an adjustable. You pay interest only. And there's a short-term opportunity to take the money out, and then later on, it turns into a loan that's a really high interest rate. Cash out refinance. That's the most important thing. Refinance your entire mortgage. Get the best rate that's out there. Give yourself the opportunity to refinance later when the rates drop. A cash out refinance is a little bit higher of a rate than a rate and term refinance. Do the cash out now, set yourself up for the future, and get the best deal out there. Just do me one favor. Don't tell my wife about this because she's going to want all the cash in the world to buy a new car.
Well, if you want to know more, Google the Bagel Loan to find out more information or call my friend Stewie, 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Google the Bagel Loan for more information. NMLS number 226715.
Hey, it's Mark Cox. Take your lawn from good to great with my friends at Lawn Enforcement. I'm talking expert lawn care services to keep your lawn in order. And here's what they'll do for you. Anybody can mow your grass. At Lawn Enforcement, they want to enhance your property. They'll do the mowing and the trimming. They'll fertilize and implement a weed control program and erosion control, which includes retaining walls if you need it. They can landscape. They can design and install your flowers, your shrubs, your trees, all of your hardscapes. No project is too big or too small for my friends at Lawn Enforcement. You can check them out online at yourlawnenforcement.com. So instead of envying your neighbor's lawn, your neighbors are going to be wishing they had the lawn and landscape that you have. Go ahead and enjoy your space. Be proud when you entertain your friends and your family. They've been in business for over 30 years. Be sure and tell them Mark Cox sent you. Go to yourlawnenforcement.com.
It's not your typical game day look. Sunday, June 28th at Busch Stadium, the Cardinals face the Miami Marlins, and fans can receive a soccer-style Cardinals jersey presented by Purina. Clean, sporty, and unmistakably Cardinals, it brings a fresh energy to the ballpark from first pitch on, and kids take home a vibrant Cardinals soccer ball to keep the action going long after the final out. 2 ways to play, one big Sunday. Get tickets at cardinals.com/promotions.
Every Sunday home game is a Kids Sunday at Busch Stadium. From Team Fredbird and games to a kid-friendly DJ, ice cream, and family favorite activities. Sundays are built for young fans. Plus, select Sundays feature kids run the bases after the game. It's a day made for smiles, memories, and Cardinals baseball together. Make Sundays your family tradition at Busch Stadium. Tickets and details at cardinals.com/KidsSunday.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
341, this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Happy birthday, America, in 2026. Get used to hearing the word semi-quincentennial. America 250 on 97.1 FM Talk. Sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center.
I don't need to spend a lot of time on the roundtable on this, but just as kind of a side note here, and you'll probably hear it at the top of the hour on Fox. You know, they had this trial. By the way, Chief Tim Fitch, former St. Louis County Police Chief and Councilman here, political consultant Ed Rohde, also on the panel. They had this trial going on for the kid that allegedly started the Palisades fire, and there was a mistrial. I don't know if you heard about that today. 10 not guilty votes, 2 guilty votes. So the jury felt, you know, the thing going in with this, here's what my take is, okay, not having seen the testimony, so maybe not completely informed, but I think the kid did it, but they don't have the proof. There's the circumstantial evidence is there's no doubt about it, but there's too much reasonable doubt. So I don't know, like, you tell me, if you get 10 not guilty and 2 guilty, do you try to retry that again, or you just say, okay, we're done?
Probably not.
Yeah, right?
They probably will just stick with the hung jury. Move on.
Just wanted to mention that. All right, we talked about elections earlier on in the roundtable for some of the races, but we didn't talk about Amendment 4 and Amendment 5, which are obviously getting a lot of attention. You might hear some ads here on 97.1 FM Talk. I believe, just in the effort of full disclosure, Ed, are you working on the Pro 5?
I'm advising on the Pro 5
side. And you're a yes vote, Tim Fitch, right? So we're all yes
yes
votes in this room on Amendment 5. I've said that I've understood some of the criticism from people who feel like the legislature kind of put the cart before the horse, and, you know, we don't know what the carve-outs will be. So it allows the opponents of this, as you know, to really paint a picture where they're claiming that the legislature, which is a supermajority of Republicans, is going to raise taxes on everyone as much as they possibly can. Like, the realtors' response to all this is somewhat bizarre to me, but I also don't know if Republicans have done enough to market this thing the right way, Ed.
Well, that's a good question. I'll probably need to defer to Tim on the Republican side. I can tell you on the Democratic side, I mean, you know, they're doing a pretty good job of, you know, saying this is an everything tax, and quite frankly, it really isn't. Just let me tell you from a personal standpoint why it makes sense for me to support, okay? I'm coming to the age where I'm going to be retiring probably sooner rather than later, okay? When you pull money out of your IRA, that's income, okay? Under this proposal, that income would not be taxed, okay? That's a lot of money when you're retiring to save. So, I mean, something like that actually makes a lot of sense.
Well, see, that needs to be pointed out, because I think what older people are saying, they're hearing the scare tactics that the burden's going to be put on you because of sales taxes, right?
Well, I think that's right. And obviously, you know, our side is running ads or they're doing town halls and trying to educate folks. But, you know, on these ballot issues, it's a lot easier to kill something than it is to pass something. You're doing the scare tactics, you know, oh, this is everything tax, and quite frankly, it's not. So
even my Republican friends are all over the place on this one.
Yeah, mine too.
They are all over the place, and their fear is giving the legislature the power to raise taxes on kind of what they say, everything that they want to raise taxes on, which isn't quite true. But
it's
they're
not
afraid
true,
to do
but
that.
it doesn't matter because it gives them they've given them the window to say that.
There's too much. It's too vague. It's too vague, and there's a lot of Republican voters that want something more specific. Give me more facts. So I'm not so sure it's going to pass. It's going to be close, but I don't even know if it's going to be
close. I think it might get crushed, unfortunately. And then what does Governor Kehoe do? I mean, he's not one to give up, but that would be a pretty major
political
failure.
He's done what he said he would do. He put it in front of the voters, and they had their say, and you move on, or you rewrite it and try to bring it back.
What about Amendment 4? Amendment 4 deals with the initiative petition process, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not working on that one. I think that one's going to get killed, quite frankly, because the pro side isn't spending money. The anti side is spending money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I know this is bad, but I'm actually in favor of that as well. I think it's too easy.
Oh, I am too.
I think it's too easy to amend the Constitution. I worked against the marijuana proposal a couple years ago. It was 40 pages long. I thought it was completely absurd. I think we need to make it harder to change the Constitution than what we're doing now.
You know, and I supported the marijuana proposal, but what you just said about the 40 pages, it was ridiculous. ridiculous. So I did it. There were personal reasons. My wife works in the industry, but I understand the complaints about it. I really do, and I understand why people voted against it for that.
And, in Missouri, typically when there's a lot of money spent on the no side, it loses. And we've seen that time and time again, and they're spending a lot of money on the no side on this. And you've seen the map of Missouri where they put green X's on the different congressional districts, and there's one red X in southwest Missouri. That one area can control everything else the state does because they didn't pass this.
Interesting. We'll take a break. One more segment to go on the Reardon Roundtable coming up next.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Good news downtown. Eastbound 44 has been reopened in front of the Arch grounds. And that's
huge.
It really is. And that, of course, is MoDOT doing that. They say westbound will be coming soon. And we've got an accident northbound 270 past Dorset. This has been blocking the left lanes, and it's really created a jam in that area. Right now, it looks like it's back to at least Page. Oh, westbound is open as well. Just looked at cars downtown. So 44 has been reopened at downtown. That is great news. Now, southbound 170 slowing at 64. We've got westbound 40 slow approaching Hampton out through McCausland, and it's slowing again at Prospect. Eastbound 70 slow headed for Wentzville. 70 westbound, not bad. And a little bit of volume eastbound 270 headed for the Chain of Rocks Bridge. On the Illinois side, 5570 eastbound slows at 159. 64 eastbound slows at 157. It's one of those afternoons. This report brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Call them for their 26-point tune-up. They will come out and give you one price for up to 3 garage doors and openers. Always look for the genuine, the original red ribbon. Schedule online at overheaddoorstlewis.com. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I don't know the details, but I saw a post by a KMOX reporter named Jade Aubrey today where there was another sinkhole that was closer to the arch.
No.
Not something that was on a main thoroughfare, but yeah, with all the rain.
Another one?
That's what I heard. That's what they were reporting down there.
We're here to celebrate America's 250th birthday in 2026. This is 97.1 FM Talk. America 250 is sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center.
For decades, Morgan & Morgan has represented hundreds of thousands of people at their hour of need. Injuries on the job, car crashes, medical malpractice, and nursing home abuse, Social Security claims, dangerous drugs, and dangerous products. We became America's largest injury firm for a reason, and no firm is even close. Then we got to thinking, what if we could prevent these terrible events before they occurred? So we built the AI-powered People Protector. Simply visit peopleprotector.com and type in the product you have questions about before you buy it. Children's toys and accessories, cars, drugs, products, you name it, we got it. With our success, we decided to pay it forward for all of America. Our way of saying thank you for your trust all these years. Morgan & Morgan, protecting America. And if you've already been injured, just visit us at forthepeople.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Zero Res wants to help you clean your home. Big summer savings right now. 3 rooms clean starting at $129. Plus take $100 off your air duct cleaning. Visit ZeroResSTL.com and ask for the 97.1 special.
Hey, St. Louis, need to sell your home fast? The Gelman team with eXp Realty can make you an instant cash offer in just 24 hours. No showings, no repairs, no waiting, no drama. Visit thegelmanteam.com to see what your home could sell for fast. Or give the Gelman team a call at 314-336-1991.
Missouri's laws are clear. Unregulated gaming devices are illegal. Companies have been telling businesses that gray market machines are legal. That's wrong. Don't be scammed. If you have these devices at your business, you could be subject to criminal and civil penalties. Unplug and remove these devices today.
If you've been approached to host illegal gaming machines, call now. 800-523-1434 or visit ago.mo.gov. Sponsored by the Attorney General's Office.
Don't let tax refund worries hold you back. File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve or your money back. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, we're going to interrupt the roundtable for some breaking news. Actually, we talked about this earlier in the hour. Why was there no response by the U.S. to the drone that was hit in the Strait? Well, there has been. Here's Jen Griffin from Fox.
I just spoke to a senior U.S. official who confirmed that those airstrikes were, in fact, in response to Iran firing a one-way attack drone against a Singapore-flagged ship overnight. That ship was trying to leave the Strait of Hormuz. It was passing along the Omani coast, and it struck that cargo ship. And so this is in response for what the president has said was a breach of the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, and a breach of the ceasefire. We heard that there were explosions in 3 locations in Sirik, Iran. That is along the Strait of Hormuz coast. Now we have a statement from CENTCOM saying that the targets were drone and missile storage sites as well as radar installations. It's not clear whether these airstrikes will continue, but since CENTCOM has put out the statement, my past experience would suggest that the strikes are over for now, but it is a strong warning shot across the bow at Iran to get the IRGC under control and to stop firing on ships in the Strait of Hormuz.
That's Jen Griffin at Fox. She's one of the best. She knows the region very well. So that's the latest. And it makes, by the way, as we welcome the roundtable participants, Tim Fitch and Ed Rohde, back into the conversation, makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, that was one of the questions that I had is why wasn't there a response?
You know, what was interesting is earlier today, the UAE put out an alert that there were incoming missiles into the UAE. I get those alerts. And as it turns out, somebody hit the button wrong. They accidentally hit the button.
Oopsie.
So it freaked everybody out. Now you got this going on. So expect a response from Iran, too. They're not just going to take this.
Oh, I'm sure they won't. Ed, just quickly here as we lighten it up just a little bit, the Cardinals held a news conference to announce some small internal changes. The team is about where it was last year at this time, but they're more exciting. You got the younger players that are kind of stepping up. I have this bad feeling that the pitching is getting exposed, and maybe we're going to be in for some rough seas coming up. We have like a 5-game series with the Brewers coming up because of a rainout right after the 4th of July. But look, this team's been fun. I hope that the fans will reward them because it's been a little light. I was out there earlier this week. I like the changes. We know it's a rebuild. I think you got to trade at the deadline because you're looking toward the future.
You got to trade. This team is fun to watch. I don't think there's any expectations. So, look, the bullpen has been not good lately. But, again, they're fun to watch. There's no expectations. I was glad to see that they were passing the torch down to Bill DeWitt III earlier this week. I was actually quite afraid that they were going to sell the team at some point, so I'm glad to see that DeWitt's holding on.
Well, Mike Shannon, remember when he slipped, he spread that rumor on the air, which created a blank storm. Like, I've got it on good authority. Well, when that goes out the other night, the tweet about that meeting, you're like, wait, what's going on?
That was my first reaction, actually. So.
Luckily, it was something like that. And then on the hockey front, like, I'm not the biggest hockey guy. Cusumano will address this, but, the Blues made a big trade with Jordan Kyrou. Got 4 first-round picks. The draft is tonight, so they're probably working pretty hard over at Enterprise right now on some deals and trying to secure the future for the St. Louis Blues, and that's pretty exciting. So I like the fact that we're pushing forward with both of the franchises, right? You're not a big hockey guy, though, are you?
My son is. He could tell you everything about it. And I go to a game or two a year, but no, I'm not a big hockey fan.
I really got into the NHL Finals and the whole Stanley Cup Finals this year because it was fun to watch and the games were good. All right, boys, thanks for coming in. We're out of time. Jen Griffin took a little bit of your time here in the end. Ed, great to see you. Chief, awesome to see you. Have a safe trip where you're going next.
Thanks,
Mark. And we're coming back with Sue's News and a whole 4 o'clock hour.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, the big story this afternoon has been the reopening of 44 between the Poplar Street Bridge and the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge. Traffic getting by through there now. Accident northbound 270. Now, this one is just past Dorset, and it's been blocking the left lanes. They've been working to get this off to the shoulder. And if you're traveling in that area and wondering what the jam is, that would be it. They still have those left lanes blocked. Now, that's the worst of it. We have a little bit of volume on westbound 70 out of downtown. It's not bad. Mostly it's slowing at Wentzville. And 64 is slow right around Hampton, out through Hanley. A little bit at Boone's Crossing, and again at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. 55 has been slow south of M. And on the Illinois side, 5570 eastbound is jammed at 159. 64 eastbound slows at 255. And westbound 64 slows headed for 159. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, well, we've been talking about this very limited deal from Stewart's American Mortgage, and I have it on good authority that is going to wrap very quickly. So if you haven't heard about this, I want to explain it to you. He's offering, Stewie, is if you're purchasing a home, a 1% discount on your interest rate for the first year. So for the first year of your new loan, you lock in the 1% lower rate on a 30-year mortgage. You still get the bagel loan, no closing costs. You save yourself a lot of money. Again, 30-year mortgage, interest rate lower by 1%. This is a limited time offer, and it's going to expire soon. So if you want to get off the sidelines, you're interested in that, get on the horn with Stewie as soon as you can. Maybe you're interested in refining, and maybe your instincts tell you, nope, rates are too high, I have a good rate. Well, think about the bagel loan. He created it to save you money. It is called the bagel loan because it looks like a zero, and you don't pay appraisal fees, closing costs, title fees, or broker fees. That's going to be a big advantage. You're dealing with him directly or his son, Jordan. They handle all the loans. They can close you quickly in as little as 10 days. And, of course, right now, that offer for the 1% lower interest rate on a 30-year mortgage. Text Stewie or call him at 314-324-4440, 324-4440, NMLS number 226715, Stewart's American Mortgage.
Bill, that's a big smile for an old politician.
I'm thinking about our plan. It's slick enough to make a lobbyist blush. First, we hoodwink voters with Amendment 5. Tell them it's a tax cut. Once they're hooked, we decide who pays the higher taxes.
So it's not a tax cut plan, and we don't get a say?
Right, just swaps who pays the tax, but it does remove 3 voter-passed taxpayer constitutional protections. That lets us levy new taxes on services, increase sales taxes, and even tax home sales, and voters will no longer get to vote on tax hikes.
Higher sales taxes on groceries, gas, service taxes on doctor visits, childcare, and even rent on apartments. Jeez. Taxes could exceed 20%.
Sure, they figure that up to 80% of taxpayers will pay more taxes. Many, hundreds more. Seniors, they'll get hit even harder, but our big donors will cut a fat hog.
The ones getting butchered by Amendment 5 are most taxpayers. I'm voting no on 5.
Paid for by Missourians for fair taxation.
See website for details. BillsHappen.com is not a lender. It does not make credit decisions. Must be 18 years old. Not available in all states.
Honey, everything is so expensive, and our bills are piling up.
You're telling me credit cards are maxed out, rent is due, and the car payment's right around the corner? We need some extra cash.
We should do what my friend from work did. She went to BillsHappen.com and got the money she needed the next day.
Our credit is not great. Are you sure that would work for us?
BillsHappen.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with all credit types get up to $5,000.
Sounds like it's going to be a hassle.
My friend said it was super easy. She did it right from her phone during her lunch break.
If you have a regular source of income, you can be approved for a loan for up to $5,000, and your cash can hit your bank account the next day. BillsHappen.com's lenders have millions of dollars to lend, regardless of your credit history.
Guess what? I went to BillsHappen.com, and we're getting our money tomorrow.
Wow, that's fast. Problem solved.
If you need extra cash, go to BillsHappen.com. That's BillsHappen.com. BillsHappen.com.
We have new attacks against Iran. Jen Griffin will update us. You'll also hear that in Fox News at the top of the hour. Plus, Sue's News on a Friday. It's all coming up. Paul Hall and Entertainment, Frank Cusumano as well.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
This
This is a Fox News alert. News strikes on Iran. I'm Lisa Brady. The U.S. military just launching new airstrikes targeting Iranian missile and drone storage locations after President Trump accused Iran of violating a ceasefire with a drone attack that hit a cargo ship in the Strait of Hormuz.
I just spoke to a senior U.S. official who confirmed that those airstrikes were, in fact, in response to Iran firing a one-way attack drone against a Singapore-flagged ship overnight. That ship was trying to leave the Strait of Hormuz. It was passing along the Omani coast.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin. President Trump telling reporters less than an hour ago.
I don't like the fact that they took a shot yesterday, actually 4. We knocked down 3 at a ship. Not an allied ship, but a ship, a very expensive ship.
A memorandum of understanding between the U.S. and Iran requires allowing travel freely through the strait in exchange for a U.S. naval blockade ending. Meantime, the U.S., Israel, and Lebanon reaching a trilateral agreement aimed at eventual peace after months of Israeli conflict with Iran-backed Hezbollah militants in Lebanon. One Hezbollah official is criticizing that agreement and warning it won't be enforced without civil war. A staggering toll in Venezuela, where the Associated Press is now reporting more than 51,000 people missing in double earthquakes, already blamed for more than 900 deaths.
Government officials in the South American country expect the numbers to climb higher as searches through rubbled buildings continue. Both quakes registered magnitudes in the 7 range, hitting late Wednesday in coastal cities such as La Guaira and Morón and the capital of Caracas. Hundreds of structures have been destroyed, leaving survivors homeless. U.S. military search and rescue teams reportedly are now on the ground to assist.
Fox's Evan Brown, more than 3,000 injured. America is listening to Fox News.
You've got to try the new TikTok diet.
Just ask Chat.
I just take blue-green algae.
Or you could trust your gut. When it comes to your health, how do you know what's right for you? That's where Viome comes in. Viome is a simple, at-home gut health test that analyzes your real-time biology to give you personalized nutrition guidance and custom supplements. Not trends, your biology.
Learn more at Viome.com/know. V as in Victor, IOME.com/KNOW. And use coupon code VIOME50 to save $50 off your purchase.
You're great at protecting your data, but lots of places could still expose you to identity theft.
I thought it was safe.
If that happens, LifeLock gives you a US-based restoration agent who will stick by your side from start to finish. Phone calls, filing documentation, preparing insurance claims, your agent handles it all. In fact, we're so confident restoration is guaranteed or your money back. Isn't it nice to have someone like that on your side? Save up to 30% with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Let's keep our skies a little unsettled as we go through the evening and the overnight, but the action is fading slowly. 70 for the low. Go into the last weekend of June. Partly sunny skies Saturday, limited shower and thunder shower activity, a lot of dry time. 89 for the high on Saturday. Saturday night, partly cloudy, nothing more than a spot thunderstorm. Very humid, 73. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, as we open up the 4 o'clock hour, we're going to kind of extend what we did at the end of the roundtable because there are new attacks on Iran that are going on right now. Jen Griffin reported on this before the top of the hour. Her theory was, just based on her experience, that maybe it was a bit more of a one-off retaliation. The strikes would stop it. That's not the case. Here's the very latest here.
I just spoke to a senior U.S. defense official, and those airstrikes are ongoing as we speak. So this is not over. The response by the U.S. military to that strike by the IRGC using a one-way attack drone targeting that Singapore flagship overnight. But there are still more targets that CENTCOM is going after as we speak. We had heard about those original 3 airstrikes in Sirik, Iran. Those were from local reports on the ground. And we learned from the CENTCOM statement that it was drone storage sites, missile storage sites as well as air radar defense systems. But right now, we can say that they're striking more targets, and it's clear that they're trying to send a very strong message to the Iranians to basically cut it out. But it's clear this is not a symbolic strike. This is taking out some of those drone sites and missile sites that have been really tormenting the ships in the Strait of Hormuz as the Iranians still try to play games with potentially charging tolls in that area, which would be against the MOU. So right now, the fact that the strikes are still continuing, and CENTCOM did put out that statement, is surprising to me, because usually we get a statement when these kind of strikes are finished. But I think obviously they want the Iranians to know that it's the U.S. military. They want the world to know that they are responding, and it's unacceptable to stop these ships going through the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, so that could get interesting this weekend. But I'm pretty pleased that there's more of a response, because I think there should have been a response, and we'll continue to update you on that story. By the way, on the topic of Iran, I just have to bring this up because of the World Cup. France just smoked. Who are they playing this afternoon?
Wait, I
They just
had
beat them
it here.
4-1. I can't remember. I was just looking at the score. Did you watch the game last night, the USA game?
Yeah, I did.
Norway, yeah, they just beat them. But I think both those teams are going through. Although I say things that are wrong all the time because I don't really know about
I don't
the
know
World
anything.
Cup. But I did watch last night,
Yeah.
and I know that the team was not. It was a little bit more the B team than the A team, right? But by the time I tuned in, which was only a few minutes into the game, it was already 1-1. I'm like, wow, I missed some scoring there in the first, first 15 minutes or something like that?
10 minutes,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. So then, I did watch, and I want to talk about this with Paul Hall. I'm watching this show on Apple TV Plus right now called Widow's Bay, and I'm trying to catch up because my wife's on one episode and I'm on another. So I didn't watch the entire game, but then I tune it in and I'm watching the end, and it was tied, and then they're in extra time, and I see there's like 7 minutes extra time. Literally, I think with less than a minute to go, or a minute and a half, and they scored against the U.S. Now,
5 seconds left.
not the big. Was that all it was?
Yeah.
It was like right at the end.
Right.
That's
Unreal.
a bummer.
Not the biggest deal because the U.S. wins the group, and they're still playing Bosnia-Herzegovina. But you kind of want to go in with momentum, and I don't know, do you get momentum from a draw anyway? You know what I mean?
Right. I don't know.
So who knows? But here, I have to mention this because this is related to Iran. The Iran Football Federation wants FIFA to prevent any ceremonies or promotional activities in support of the LGBTQ plus community at a match that is being called the Pride Match between Egypt and Iran tonight in Seattle. Now, FIFA's saying we're not calling it the Pride Match, but they're welcoming the Alphabet Mafia and the Rainbows, and Iran is saying, no, we don't want any part of that. So this has become somewhat of a controversy. I will say this, I'm going to side with the Iranians on this one, and I'm going to make the case that Iran is less fascist and intolerant than the city of Seattle. So I think that there's probably something to be said for that. It's just ridiculous. Here's the bottom line. I'm so tired of it. Really, I am. My best friend is gay, too. I feel like the guy that says, I have a black friend. My gay friends agree with this. This Rainbow Alphabet Mafia, the trans stuff in particular, stop it, okay? And especially with professional sports franchises. You're just virtue signaling. People want to come down and do their parade here and do whatever else, fine. But keep the major league sports franchises out of it because the players don't want it. The coaches don't want it. Look what happened to Buster Posey in San Francisco this week. They're hammering him because a couple of the players put the Bible verse on there. He wants to focus on baseball, right? These people should not be peppered with questions from young reporters who only care about the Alphabet Mafia. Okay, no one's taken the side of the players that want the the Bible language on their hats. Now, in fairness, that's against MLB rules, so I understand that there's a violation there. They have to come in. They did admit, though, that the Giants didn't really communicate with their players the proper information, but we can avoid all of this if we just get rid of the virtue signaling. So that is what I would recommend. All right, what else do we got here, Fred, before we get to Sue's news? There were a couple of things. I never really talked about Caitlin Clark, and that's another thing that's sports-related. Did you see what happened to her on the court a couple of nights ago?
Yeah.
So two things about that, because my friend John Ziegler tweeted about this, and I do want to say as a cautionary tale, the video that got out there of Caitlin Clark essentially having a hand pushed down on her throat, which
Yes.
looked like an assault, went out and millions of people saw it. But then some other people got involved and they got AI involved in that video and they made it look worse than it was.
Ugh.
And there was no reason for that. One of the reasons, like John tweeted that out. Why would you do that and then kind of discredit maybe the incident because people are going to say it's AI when all you had to do is really show what happened and it was enough. But I think the more, and here, I think I have a call of the play where that happened the other day. Do you know what that's under,
Caitlin.
Fred? It's under Caitlin, which is way down
C.
at the bottom. Yeah, I know. You say that, but it's at the bottom here. So I know I come off as stupid, but here it is.
When somebody commits a flagrant foul like that, it is not disrespectful. It is dangerous. She put a closed fist, Alyssa Thomas put a closed fist.
This is Ari Fleischer, by the way.
Against the throat of a prone Caitlin Clark, lying on the ground defenseless. That is the type of penalty that she should get 2 weeks suspension at a minimum. You've got to send a signal to players that violence is not acceptable.
So they only got a 1-game suspension, I think. Here's the call to play.
I mean, Caitlin to the ground, and that's a hand to the neck.
Yeah, so it's a hand. Here's the other thing about that I want to point out. That was not a foul.
Right.
They did not call a foul. They suspended the player because when they saw the video, they thought it was egregious, but they didn't even call a foul. And this is a pattern with Caitlin Clark because she's white, right? The more egregious thing that happened with the WNBA, I'll get to in a second, but here's her coach.
Absolutely disrespectful. We have a generational talent and a WNBA superstar who had 2 cheap shots right there that weren't called. And I just say again, absolutely unacceptable.
It is unacceptable,
Yes.
and it's utterly ridiculous. But here's what's worse, and I don't know if you heard about this. I heard about this a couple of days ago, and it's still getting some attention. Maybe you even mentioned, Sue, in Sue's News, the 30-year anniversary of the WNBA. Did you or
No.
not? Okay. So it's their 30th year, which kind of surprised me, but time goes by very quickly. They have a 30th anniversary poster, right? They did not include Caitlin Clark.
Of course not.
They included Angel Reese, who's African-American, but they excluded the most exciting player that the WNBA has had come into their league in what? How long? Maybe ever?
Yeah.
I mean, are you kidding me? And they continue to beat the crap out of her out there. Now, my understanding, and I don't follow the league very much, my understanding is she's also got a bit of a reputation for, whining about a lot of this stuff, but maybe she has a right to because she's getting the crap beat out of her. But it seems the snub on the poster doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And by the way, there were I saw a ton of African-American athletes, like athletes from other leagues, the NFL, Robert Griffin III, for example, saying, that's utterly ridiculous that Caitlin Clark is on there. So here's what Darren Rovell says. He says the reason why Caitlin is not on the poster is Caitlin Clark herself. Other than Nike, Clark allows licenses like Windcraft who make this to only use her name and number, not her likeness. Moving on, the disrespect card was fun for a day. So I don't know if there's something to that, but I mean, wouldn't you want, if you're Caitlin Clark, wouldn't you kind of want some sort of workaround so you could be on that poster?
Yeah, and my guess is, we don't know, but my guess is she would have figured that out. I mean, she's not new to being a popular individual.
But I mean, if her agent flagged it and said, look, we can't be on here because we have a conflict with a client. I don't know. The whole thing is just weird. But regardless of the poster, they're thrashing her throughout the league.
It's outrageous.
It is.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, the good news is they have cleared the accident northbound 270 past Dorset. And it's even unwound behind it, the traffic there is. Now, we've got an accident westbound 6440 east of Kings Highway. That's causing a delay. And there was an accident eastbound 64 near Big Bend, also causing a delay. Biggest jam is on the Illinois side. Accident northbound 5570 at 159. Woo, that's causing a jam. Eastbound 64, jams approaching 157. And we look good on the bridges downtown. Don't forget 44 has been reopened between the bridges downtown, between the Poplar Street Bridge and the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge. Accident now southbound 270, just north of 55. And if you're out west, 70 moderate volume at Highway A, 64 a little slow there at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
So, Sue, I told you about this in the last hour. I'm looking at the images right now. There was another broken water main. KMOX broke this story earlier today that led to another huge sinkhole at the riverfront near the Arch. And it's a big one, but there's no traffic on there, so it's not going to interfere. But it's good that they got 44 open because has that been 2 or 3 weeks?
I think it's 2.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Let's get you on a better path to retirement, and we're going to do it in a very easy way. All you're going to do is make an appointment with the team at the Retirement Advisory Group. You're going to go one-on-one in a meeting. They're going to give you a free copy of their latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement, and then you're going to hear their philosophy, and it includes safely linking to the markets. The market's been rocking lately, but how do you make sure that you lock in the gains that the Wall Street folks are giving you right now? Well, they'll teach you that at the Retirement Advisory Group. We do seminars with them 5 times a year. We just wrapped up the latest one, so likely we'll not have another one until late summer, early fall. Doesn't matter. You can schedule a meeting one-on-one, and I would highly recommend it because you don't want to put off when it comes to very important financial decisions related to the rest of your life when you'll be around. 314-993-9494 or retirementkey.com. And by the way, when you go to the website, there is a register tab, and it'll say on there, check back for upcoming events. But if you click it, you can still register for the next event or just go in one-on-one. Retirementkey.com.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit throttlenet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
It's time for you to get to know my friends at Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield, where luxury meets comfort. Mark Cox here. They have a great selection of rare bourbons, whiskeys, craft cocktails, anything you like to drink, cold beer, premium hand-rolled cigars from the finest makers in the world, even private lockers that are available if you choose to. Perfect for date nights or business meetings, and live music every Friday night. Family-owned and operated. Check them out in Chesterfield at the District. It's litstl.com.
Lemonade! Fresh squeezed lemonade! Lemonade? Oh, nuts.
Is your business struggling to be seen? Not reaching the right customers?
Yeah.
Odyssey's here to help. Your one-stop shop for digital marketing.
Wait, really?
With targeted digital media, plus SEO, SEM, social, OTT, and more, we help your business reach the right audience and drive results.
Whoa, hey, one at a time.
Stop missing out on valuable customers. Visit digitallocalads.com to learn more about our local advertising solutions. That's digitallocalads.com.
Okay, people, line starts here.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, we still have a lot to go here this afternoon. Paul Hall has a lot of entertainment recommendations as we head into the weekend and get ready for the 4th of July next weekend. Cusumano, big night for the Blues, and I almost said NFL. NHL draft tonight. And the Cardinals obviously start another series. We got World Cup news as well. All of that coming up, but not before this.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
It's 68 degrees in here, which is why I'm wearing this. Are you cold, Fred?
Oh, yeah, I'm cold.
Okay.
I'm usually cold, but I'm not. But it's my thermometer, so yes, I can confirm that it's cold. Sue's got her blanket on today.
Yeah, if you're wondering. Okay, I have an issue in the backyard. Here's the deal. Maybe you guys know. There is some gravel. I guess they're rocks, like decorative rocks that are bigger, like the white kind, that they had put out on a garden in the back, and I don't want those.
Previous owner had these.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want mulch. But if we pick up all the rock and put it somewhere, what do you do with it? Can you put it in the trash?
That's actually a very good question.
I don't know. So if someone knows, will you please tell me?
I mean, you can put it in the trash, but would they prefer that you don't do that, right?
Right. And is that considered like yard waste, or is that like trash?
How much do you have?
I think a lot more than we think, Fred. You know that one section in the back right by the table, there's like, I don't know, probably 3
How nice
trash
are the rocks?
things.
I mean, you could.
They're decent.
Could you resell the rocks to someone?
Will people buy that?
I think so, yeah.
Huh.
Or you could just do what everybody else does. Put it in something, put it down at the front of your driveway.
Just
and
rocks?
someone will come by and pick it
Well,
up.
that might happen. Yeah,
I didn't even think of
I actually
that.
think if you put it on Facebook Marketplace, you might be able to find
There's
a buyer.
a bunch of rocks? Well, maybe.
Well, because if someone's trying to find a deal, yeah.
But some of them have been in the ground for a while. They're not particularly clean.
Well, you're going to wash them off, Sue.
I'm not
You're going to hand wash them.
I am not washing the rocks.
All
right.
Use a hose.
Oh, that's true. Hose them down. All right. On this day in history, 207 years ago, it was 1819 when William Clarkson Jr. patented the bicycle. And
How
he
many
did
years?
so in the U.S. The bicycle is 207 years old.
Wow.
I'm going to celebrate tomorrow by going for
Do
a
a
ride.
ride, yeah.
Yeah. And then this has some music that Mark will enjoy. Well, at least the singer. On this day in history, 45 years ago in 1981, For Your Eyes Only was released.
I love Sheena Easton.
For your eyes only can see me through the night.
Was this like her first hit?
Oh, man.
Before Morning
Oh,
Train, or was Morning Train first?
That is a good question. I remember seeing, because it's James Bond. You know, I love James Bond.
Oh,
I remember
yeah.
seeing this in the theater. And it was Roger Moore, 007, featuring this theme song by Sheena Easton. But it was the movie that was released 45 years ago today. Young Sue was there. Oh,
Here she
yes.
goes. I was always taking the morning train with Sheena back then.
Yeah.
I really liked her a lot.
I bet you did. But I liked that song, too. So, yeah. All right, 45 years ago, I read that today, and I thought, of course, yeah, man.
Your parents let you go to that movie?
Yeah, I somehow went. It must have been PG. They didn't have PG-13, so it
No.
must have been just PG.
Yeah. Or
Yes.
R's. Sometimes movies were hit with R's when they shouldn't have been back then, but that was probably PG.
Yeah. 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 It is National Barcode Day, which thrills us all. And it's also National Coconut Day. Oh, my mother. I love coconut, Fred. You
I
know.
do not.
Mark, you don't like it either. Is
Look,
it right?
I'm
It's
a
just
little
me.
too busy looking at pictures of Sheena Easton right now. I would like to not be interrupted. No, I like it in moderation. I do.
Moderation.
Yeah.
I love it. She loved the coconut ice cream, which my husband likes as well. I like the coconuts.
Alexa likes coconuts, and when we were in Las Vegas at one point, they had what's the stuff called the frozen ice, the good stuff from Italy.
Oh, yeah,
you know what
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about. Why
I
can't I
can
come
see
up with
it.
that yet?
Oh.
And they had coconut, and it was delicious. It
Oh,
really,
it's
really
so
was.
good.
So I was surprised. I took a shot at that. Alexa's kind of
Is that like
forcing
gelato?
me. Gelato. Thank you,
Gelato,
Fred.
Thank you, Fred. Oh,
That
my
was
goodness.
not coming to my brain, but
Woo.
yes.
It's also National Take Your Dog to Work Day. I really thought about it. I thought it is that. What if I brought one of the bulldogs in? Could we? It's a Friday. How bad would it be? And then I thought, well,
Are we allowed?
No.
see,
But
that's why.
Do
I
we do
didn't.
things that are not allowed all the time? Yes.
Are we still not allowed? I thought that woman left. The one who was a big no doggy.
Well, you might be right about that.
Yeah, she
so if
left.
I brought Max in here, he'd be totally chill and cool. And
Yeah, I would love
Yeah.
that.
I can bring the kitten in, and he'd be climbing on all the equipment.
Okay, I'd love
Crawling
that
up,
even
calling
more.
up Fred's pant leg, I think, too.
Yeah, great.
But I'll hold him, and he won't get to too much.
He's adorable right
Oh,
now.
he's so cute. And it's also National Beautician Day, which reminded me again about getting Fred a haircut by your person.
We got to do
We
that.
have to do that.
So Allison is actually having hip replacement, and then when she's back in service at the end of July, will somebody make a note or something?
yes, I will remember
Thank you.
that. Here's more music.
I won't.
It's going to be fun.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears singer David Clayton Thomas passed away Wednesday.
Oh, I missed that news.
He was 84.
Must come down, spinning wheel
Great song.
to go round.
Do we know the year on this one?
Yeah,
74, 75?
69.
Oh, my goodness.
I know.
Ride a painted pony, let the spinning wheel spin.
Yeah, I wasn't really paying attention to music
He
when I was
wrote
4.
this. He wrote Spinning Wheel, and that's him singing. It made it to number 2 on the Hot 100 in 1969. Now, his voice is unique,
Boy,
I
very
think.
unique. Yeah.
And I thought, you're also going to recognize him. This is a song you've probably heard. You've Made Me So Very Happy. This is him, too.
I lost that love before.
That was a big hit, too.
Yeah, it was.
But was this a Blood, Sweat, and Tears song
Yep.
or a solo song? Okay. I didn't know if he did solo stuff, too.
No. Well, he might have, but I didn't pull any up.
By the way, on a musical front, like in an hour, we're going to talk music with Tim Sommer, and I want to talk about this new Keith Urban Yacht Rock album, which I love, and I think Tim hates it. So I'm really looking forward to that conversation. I cannot wait.
Oh, my gosh. By the way, Blood, Sweat, and Tears won 2 Grammys in 1970, and David Clayton Thomas was 84. All right, I've got science news for you. It's Friday. Sometimes this science news freaks me out, and this is one of them. Scientists have mapped an enormous underground fungal network that stretches an estimated 68 quadrillion miles. It actually says that. Quadrillion miles, all beneath the Earth's surface. It forms a hidden system that supports life on land. And these fungi form partnerships with most plants, helping them absorb nutrients and water while moving about 4 billion tons of carbon into the soil each year. Now, researchers say that the network acts like a planetary circulatory system, playing a major role in ecosystems and climate regulation. But whenever there's something huge like that, and I've never, ever heard of it before, I think, wait, what? So, yeah, fungi, Fred.
It kind of makes sense, but it hurts my head to think about.
Yes, quadrillion.
That's a lot of
Right?
a lot of zeros. Yeah.
All right, Dolly Parton's Tennessean travel stop is officially open. I did not know this. It's in Cornersville, Tennessee. She surprised fans at the ribbon-cutting ceremony on Wednesday and poked fun at Buc-ee's by saying this, quote, "I'm sure some of you want to know why I wanted a truck stop. Well, I couldn't leave it to beavers." I can't make this stuff up, people. It's Dolly Parton.
I have audio here. Is it just a song?
It's the jingle. Besides gas pumps and charging stations, the travel stop is fully stocked with Dolly-themed merchandise.
Tennessee travel stops. Tennessee travel.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Come on in. You're welcome here. Just make yourself at home at my Tennessee travel stop.
There you go. All right, I like that. That's very welcoming from
She's
Dolly.
got a chandelier made out of bedazzled guitars. She's got a sit-down restaurant, a grab-and-go barbecue, and a coffee shop. Trucker's Lounge has showers, a laundry room, and a seating area.
Does anybody not like her?
I don't think it's possible. But good for her. She's going out against Buc-ee's. We'll see how it pans out.
I think it's going to pan out pretty well for her.
I think
my
so,
guess.
too. People just love her. Oh, I loved this on the internet. There was a woman in Chicago, and she posted a funny video last month inviting anyone to join a picnic for her birthday. And she just said, listen, I'm going to be at this park in Chicago. It's just me. It'll be 3 o'clock. It's my birthday. If you want to come join me, that would be great. She said, if you think, gosh, I should bring a gift, don't worry about it. But you should know that I do like plants, if that's what you would like to do. She said it went quickly viral because she put it on Instagram and TikTok. She had more than 100 strangers come from all over the U.S. She said people came from other states. They brought cakes. They brought plants. They said, yeah, we just wanted to help you out and maybe meet some people. It felt like strangers were hanging out with old friends. And she put a thank you video up. It was really cool. And she said it was raining all around, but it did not rain on them, their particular area, and it didn't start raining until after they left. I don't know. It's just a really nice thing.
That sounds like another really good idea that like the visitors here for the World Cup would say why we love America.
You're right. People did show up. It was impressive. Okay, and finally in Sue's news, we have today's random fact. Did you see Rush Hour 2, Fred?
No.
Did you, Mark?
Yes.
Okay. The fake money they used in Rush Hour 2 looked so real that some extras on set tried to spend it. And the Secret Service wound up raiding the prop company that made it. And they seized the money and accused the company of counterfeiting.
Wow.
Rush Hour 2. That's it for Sue's News.
The poor behind-the-scenes movie guys were just trying to do the best work they can, and all of a sudden they're in federal prison, right?
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. The markets finished the Friday session lower. The Dow was down 44 points, ending the day at 51,876. NASDAQ fell by 61 points. S&P 500 was off by 4. West Texas crude down 3.5% at $69.34 a barrel. With more declines in oil prices, gasoline prices are heading lower as well. AAA says that a gallon of regular unleaded now averages $3.90 across the U.S., and that's down 59 cents or about 13% in the last month. Diesel stands at $4.93 a gallon, which is off 65 cents in the last 30 days. Foreigners visiting for the World Cup are obsessing over ranch dressing, and the TSA has issued guidance for those trying to ship a lifetime supply back to their home country. UPS has announced its new Ship and Dip discount to help. From now until September 30th, UPS is offering a 20% discount on international shipping. And that's your money now.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now, there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. And you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
You've been listening to the very popular Wellness One for many years, Saturdays and Sundays on 97.1 FM Talk. We're happy to share that we've expanded the show to 4 times a week. Yes, 4 times every weekend. Saturday at 10 a.m., Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. It's the same great show designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you a common sense, science-based strategy for a healthy life. So join TJ and Aaron for Wellness One. Now 4 times a week on 97.1 FM Talk.
Call Point Pest Control, mention Annie, and get 10% off your pest problem. Once summertime hits, ant populations begin to reach peak numbers, maybe even into the millions. Call Point Pest Control before they invade your home. Call Point Pest Control 636-798-0023.
Hi, Sandy. What's that?
I'm reading up on this Amendment 4 on the August ballot.
What's 4?
Amendment 4 absurdly creates a new un-American minority veto power, but only for ballot issues that we citizens put on the ballot.
Don't they say it'll protect conservative ideas?
Truth gets in the way of their story. Amendment 4 would mean as few as 5% of the most liberal statewide voters in one congressional district could veto any good conservative idea or reform, even when a big majority supports it.
That does sound un-American. How did that get on the ballot?
The politicians put it there, and it would empower a small minority of liberals. They could stop funding for police, stop tax cuts, or any other common sense conservative policy we support.
Only 5%? One district? That would make it nearly impossible to pass needed reforms or rein in politicians.
Yep, Amendment 4 is a misguided power grab by politicians. I'm voting no on Amendment 4.
Right. I'm not giving up my constitutional rights. It's a hard no on 4.
Paid for by Missourians for Fair Governance.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
And this portion of the show at 4:33 brought to you by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
2026 is a big year for America, and we'll be here with you, celebrating every step of the way. America 250 on 97.1 FM Talk, sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center.
Supergirl, one of the big openings in the theaters this weekend.
Crypto and I at least had each other. Honestly, I thought we were lucky. But luck, almost by definition, runs out.
What can I do? The Brickens carry the antidote on that person.
Oh, is it woke Supergirl or is it not woke Supergirl? Paul Hall from Common Guy Films with us this afternoon. How are you?
Do I have to, Mark? I'm good. Do I have to?
Well, have you seen it?
I have.
And?
Well, it's not good. It's not good.
That's what I've heard.
It's not bad.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
all right.
Okay.
I've heard it's not good, though.
No, there's moments in here that resonated. There's most of it that was just kind of there. Now, I'm not a hater of the DC universe. I'm not someone who, is so Marvel that I can't enjoy a DC Comics movie. However, we've gotten into dark DC. And dark DC plays differently than fun and playful DC or fun and playful Marvel, for that matter. And Supergirl continues that trend. When you, in the first couple minutes of this movie, you see Supergirl knock over the vodka bottle, you know what you're in for. It's not something that is for the faint of heart. It's a little bit more hardcore. Millie Alcock is our heroine here as Supergirl, and she's a party girl. She goes out and has a good time. She's celebrating her birthday, but she celebrates it away from a yellow sun because yellow suns give her the powers that Superman and her both have. So she parties where she doesn't have powers. Well, then there's an issue with her dog, and just like John Wick, when you mess with the dog, things happen, and revenge must happen, and onward and forward. The best part of this, I think, is Jason Momoa, who plays a character that you could only say as Lobo, he is an anti-hero, but he also brings the fun to the screen. Here's the problem. He's not on screen that much.
Yeah.
And that just kind of takes away. Moments I liked, most I didn't. Supergirl's a meh type of movie for me, unless you're a huge DC Comics fan and you got to check it out.
Do we know Millie Alcock from anywhere else?
She did show up before in the Superman universe, shall we say. But other than that, before this, it was mainly smaller things. She had some roles in House of the Dragon over on HBO Max and some other small things. But no, she's newer to the scene when it comes to these type of movies.
What about for kids? Now, it's funny because I asked my daughter, I said, you want to see Supergirl? She said no.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
That's fine with me. But
she's a smart girl.
Maybe that's it.
I don't think I would be bringing my 10-year-olds this. It's
okay.
PG-13, but, a lot of this content is a little bit harder edged. Now, the hardcore comics fans are going to like that side of it because they said that this is what's been missing from the whole universe to this point. It didn't work for me.
Okay. What else you got this weekend? Anything out in the theaters?
Yeah, Lucky Strike is in theaters. This is a director I think you and I both know, Mark, Rod Lurie, who used to be a member, the head of the Critics' Choice Association, which I'm a member of. He's done
I
a
know
lot of
Rod very well. I did not know his film was coming out this weekend, so that's interesting.
Yeah, Scott Eastwood stars, and it's a story of a soldier who's trapped behind German lines during the Battle of the Bulge, and he's got to get to safety. And this is the type of stuff that Rod knows how to do. After doing The Outpost a couple years back, this is the movie that gets you and brings you in and invests you in it. It takes a little while to get going. It's not a big action film. There are action sequences, but it's more a story of survival and what happens post-war. And the way he brings the thing together at the end, I want to punch him for making me tear up a bit at the end for the way he brings it all together. It's a pretty decent film. It's a good alternative to some of the other stuff out
Well,
there.
look, let me say this about Rod, because I do know him very well, and we could not be further apart on politics these days, but he is genuinely a very, very good man, and he's made a lot of good movies related to the military. He did The Outpost years ago, and he went to West Point, so he knows the military. He did the movie Killing Reagan, worked with Bill O'Reilly on that. He did the remake of Straw Dogs. I kind of liked it, but, that's a legendary movie. But I'm curious, because I've seen his posts on Lucky Strike, and maybe I'll have him on the air next week. He's always been very good to me. But, yeah, he's one of the co-founders of what's now the Critics' Choice Awards, was the Broadcast Film Critics. I got to know him years ago. He owes me a little favor because he called me for a favor to introduce his daughter to Claire McCaskill and actually did that for him.
Interesting.
So I got a little one in the back pocket here for Rod Lurie at some point, but I do love him as a movie writer and a director, and he wrote and directed this one. So I'm glad you included Lucky Strike. Anything else you want to mention this weekend?
From theaters, that's about it. You go over to other places, you're going to stream a lot of stuff this week. Netflix has a new one called Little Brother with John Cena and Eric Andre. Let me just tell you this. For those of you Cena fans who think he's a family-friendly guy, do not turn on this movie with your kids in the room. It is raunchy. It is raw. It is the entirety of this film, but it's fun. It's fun and it's funny. I had more fun laughing at this than I probably should have, and you may be embarrassed laughing at it at times. maybe not necessarily a bad thing. Little Brother's over on Netflix, and definitely worth checking out. Otherwise, you have new theatrical stuff coming home this week. You've got Avatar, the last one, Fire and Ash, is now on Disney+. The Sheep Detectives, which I can definitely recommend. You go see it on Prime Video. You can stream it there. And we've got the new season of The Bear over on Hulu, among other things. And tonight we get Life, Larry, and the Pursuit of Happiness over on HBO Max. Now, this is Larry David, and I know your politics and Larry's politics don't necessarily agree.
But I'm a fan of his.
He's a very funny guy. And this is a story that over the next couple of weeks is going to give you basically, think Mel Brooks' History of the World as Larry David was telling a story.
Interesting.
People like Jerry Seinfeld, John Hamm, others are along for the ride. You will notice a lot of the people playing very famous historical characters throughout the time over the next couple weeks. The first episode drops tonight around 8 o'clock.
How many are there? How many are there going to be?
I don't know what they ended up on. It's going to be going on for at least the next couple, I believe at least 6 weeks. So you're going to get a new episode every week. I think they're all dropping on Fridays. July 3rd is the next one.
Okay.
So yeah.
Let me talk just a little bit about The Bear. This is the last season. I think it's great that they're, kind of putting a definitive stop date on it. It's a show that I've had my ups and downs with. It's really difficult to watch sometimes because it's so realistic and so dark and sad, and emotional. And you've had episodes where I've watched this show and I'm literally so tensed up, I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. And if anyone has ever seen the legendary episode with Jamie Lee Curtis, I can't remember what they called it. It was the Christmas episode where they're all, having dinner. It's hard to watch because there's mental illness and all these other things. I mean, one of the main characters committed suicide, John Berthold's character, which made Carmi come back to Chicago to run the Italian beef place. So I am interested in seeing what happens in season 5. Let me ask you about this show because I watched the first episode about 3 weeks ago and I didn't circle back until this week. I wasn't blown away by episode 1, but I've kind of gotten into Widow's Bay, which is one of the Apple TV Plus shows. Matthew Rhys is in it. I don't even really know much about Cato Flynn, who plays this very strange character, Patricia, but that show has really kind of drawn me in. I'm about to start episode 6. I kind of like it, so I'm going to recommend that one.
It's very weird, but it's very engaging as you go. And the further you go into it, the more engaging it gets. They just dropped the season finale of that this past week, so you'll be able to get through all of them as you stream them over there.
Well,
and they did, I believe, renew it for a second season.
I'm glad because, look, it was a show, and again, it was recommended by a friend. I watched the first episode. I'm like, this is okay. But I usually like to give it 3 tries, right? So once I got through the second episode, I was definitely in. It's very scary, by the way. If you have a fear of clowns, you might want to avoid this. But really, it's a good show. And unlike a lot of the shows, and I think this is the trap that some of these Netflix shows and even maybe some of the HBO Max shows fall into, is they try to extend them a little bit too long and then they lose their momentum. I've seen plenty of series on even Apple TV Plus where the first episode is just killer and then they just can't follow it. Widow's Bay is almost the opposite. It's getting better as it goes along. And Matthew Rhys, who's really good.
He's so talented.
He is involved in the producing side of this too. So there's a recommendation. Paul, tell folks where they can find your reviews.
ComicGuy.com. You want to go there now? I have a giveaway for Billie Eilish's new movie On Demand that was directed by James Cameron. I've got a link for Project Hail Mary on MGM HD's streaming service. You guys got a link to check that out over there for a real cheap read. I believe it's 99 cents a month for 2 months. And I've got all my book stuff. So definitely go to ComicGuy.com, check it all out. It's there for you.
Hey, we're off next Friday, but we're going to call you into service on Thursday. We'll talk about some 4th of July weekend movies, okay?
Roger that.
All right, we'll talk to you then.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, westbound 70 looks fine out of downtown. Eastbound is slow. Coming off the Blanchette Bridge through 270. Westbound picks up again, but it's not bad. Highway A out through Wentzville. Eastbound 70 slow, headed for Wentzville. 64 westbound, that's mainly slow at Hampton, out through McCausland, and then again Lake St. Louis Boulevard through the Split. Now, eastbound 40 is slowing on either side of 170. We've got some volume. There was an accident on southbound 270, and this one was just a little bit north of 55. It has been blocking a traffic lane and really creating a jam behind it. So southbound 270 drivers, that's what you're running into. Now, on the Illinois side, a really big jam on northbound or eastbound 5570 headed for 159. Road work and an earlier accident. And eastbound 64 slows at 255. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Hey, it's Scott Jennings, and what does America mean to me here on our 250th birthday? The future of Western civilization. The future of human liberty. That is what is at stake in our world right now.
America 250 is sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center.
Oh my gosh, Jennings could not be more correct about that. I just wanted to toss this in. You hear his show at 8 p.m. He's having our mutual friend Joe Arnold on to talk a little bit about baseball and the proposals that were shot back and forth from the owners and the union. You'll hear that tonight, 8 o'clock.
You feel it every time you check out. Prices up, paychecks stretched, families squeezed. That's why Ann Wagner's fighting to get government off your back and out of your way. Wagner passed the largest tax cut in American history, expanded child tax credits, ended taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security. And Wagner is working to lower costs so families keep more of their hard-earned money. But Ann Wagner knows delivering for Missouri means more than just protecting their wallets. It means protecting our streets as well. That's why Wagner fought to secure our border, deport dangerous illegal aliens, partner with law enforcement, and put predators behind bars and off our streets so our neighborhoods and communities stay safe. Because real effective leadership protects what matters most: your money, your family, your safety. Ann Wagner for Congress.
I'm Ann Wagner, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Ann Wagner for Congress.
License number GL250000615.
You're cooking dinner. The lights go out. You flip the breaker and forget about it.
But what if it keeps tripping?
Trips once, your breaker's doing its job. Keeps tripping? That's a warning. Bad wiring or something worse.
Do people just keep flipping it?
Most do, until they can't anymore.
Call Grasser. We'll stop the trip.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it. With a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis conservative.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start with Frank Cusumano this afternoon. Maybe I'll do dealer's choice since there's so much sports, but I know that the NHL draft should be of a lot of interest around here. Frank, how are you this afternoon?
Yeah, good to be with you, Mark. Yes, it's going to be an eventful night for the Blues. I would be surprised if by the end of the night they have 4 first-round draft picks in the organization tonight. But here's the amazing thing, Mark. If they do, that would give them 20 first-round draft picks in the organization at the same time. I would venture to say no professional team in the Big Four sports has ever had that situation. So I think Doug Armstrong's got to be doing some wheeling and dealing.
Yeah, so in other words, just to make it clear to the people listening, that they could easily package up one of those or 2 of those or 3 of those and get another player or several players because they are first-round draft picks.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that they haven't been in the playoffs in 3 of the last 4 years, and those draft choices will likely not get you to the playoffs this year.
Right.
You need to get some 25 and 26-year-old guys who can play right away. And I'm sure, Doug Armstrong is along those same lines right now.
Frank, the rumor mill the last couple of days has been pure chaos. With how quiet it has been on the market the last couple of days, you have to imagine that something could come out in the next hour before the draft starts, and that Doug Armstrong is going to do something. I would just be shocked if the Blues took all 4 of these picks.
Yeah, I don't see it either, but you hear things like they've decided not to trade Robert Thomas. They decided not to trade Colton Parayko. What kind of value does Jordan Bennington has? As Doug Armstrong said the other day, it takes 2 to make a trade. So I'm sure he's trying, but somebody's going to have to cooperate.
So, is this the kind of thing, I've watched the NBA draft and the NFL draft. I've really never paid attention too much to the NHL draft, but we might not know until, the selected pick is up whether or not there's a trade or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like a bad students, study habits, that they don't work on it till the 11th hour or the day before a final exam. It's just always like that.
Yeah. Well, let's talk baseball now. The Cardinals got postponed last night because of the rain. They've had some issues with the bullpen. Look, Kyle Leahy the other night has a pretty good start and doesn't give up any runs, I don't think, through 6 innings, and then the bullpen falls apart. We still have a lot of fun stuff going on with the offense, but are we in a precipitous period right now where maybe some of this is starting to get exposed, especially late in the innings?
I think that's an accurate portrayal of where the Cardinals are at this point, Mark. Right now, we're tied with the Cubs for that second wild card spot. But look, you've lost series now to the Diamondbacks, to the Royals, to the Twins. Not exactly juggernauts. I'm not saying all of a sudden they're going to, fall off the cliff here, but it's not an unbelievable roster. The bullpen is not great. There's still a hole at catcher, and you only have 4 starting pitchers who you feel good about. The Matthew Liberatore saga is really interesting because it's just been brutal. It's 18 runs in 15 innings this month. And yesterday I interviewed Ali Marmol, and he says he will remain in the rotation, and we're just going to give him help and get him better. And you could say that sounds like ridiculous. It sounds like insanity. But you could argue that, it worked out with Palante. They stayed the course with him, and now he's one of the better pitchers in the league.
It's also, it stays true to what they said was the initial purpose of 2026, was finding out what they have in these guys and giving these guys, the opportunity to be able to struggle. Matthew Liberatore certainly is struggling. It makes it a little bit more difficult when you have some guys that are waiting in the ranks. A guy like Hunter Dobbins that has performed pretty well this year. Even Bryson Mott's got scratched from his start in AAA yesterday, and I think a lot of people thought maybe he was on his way up. So that certainly makes it a little bit more challenging, Frank.
You're right, because right now I think, say, Quinn Matthews may give you a better opportunity to win a baseball game in the major leagues in 5 days when it's Liberatore's start. But they're going to stay the course, and we'll see what happens.
How's Blaze Jordan's bat right now?
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
He's been around 300. He draws walks. You've seen him field the position. So you're getting it's too early to say you've answered the question at third base, but all the vibes are pretty positive about Blaze Jordan.
Frank, I got to ask, no one covers SLU basketball in the media as much as you do. A couple of notable moments on draft night. I don't know if any Billikens actually got drafted, but I know that several got signed to teams.
As free agents, right?
Yes. Fittingly, the guy nicknamed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar will now play for the team that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar won championships for. It's an interesting contract. It's one of these deals. The bottom line is he's going to get a chance to show his stuff either in the summer league or in training camp. And we're talking about Robbie Avila. And then Deion Brown got signed by the Nets. So they're going to get a look. I don't know if they're long-term NBA players, but I'm glad they get a chance to put on an NBA uniform.
Okay, so I watched the beginning of the game last night, and then I watched the show, and I watched the extra time and saw the USA lose that game last night. Now, not a big loss because you kind of had the B team in there to a certain extent. Maybe it takes a little away from your momentum. They play next week against Bosnia-Herzegovina. You're going to have a hard time convincing me that's not going to be a big game here in St. Louis with our Bosnian population. But now we go to the knockout round, Frank, and here we go with a team that, has been pretty impressive so far, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it was disappointing, but it was not your starting lineup, as you mentioned. I think the big takeaway is that Christian Pulisic played 33 minutes and played, injury-free. Now that his calf's okay, I think we're going to see a different United States team trot out there Wednesday against Bosnia.
What's coming up on the show on Sunday night?
We have a star-studded show. We have Mike Bush with Joe Buck. We have Keith Kachuk. We sat down, the Hall of Famer, and we're also going to talk some Rams football with our old friend Ricky Prohl, who coaches the Battlehawks. So some great guests.
Outstanding. You have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday afternoon.
Right. Sounds great, guys.
Right.
Thank you.
Take care. Frank Cusumano, KSTK sports director, with us on Fridays and Mondays. I want to just throw in something here for people who went to Mizzou, and I don't know for those people that might have lived there for a while. There's a guy by the name of Norm Rubling who passed away from cancer. And when I was in Columbia, I went to Mizzou from 1983 to 1986. I graduated in like 3.5 years. And he was back in the late 80s. He was the leader of Marching Mizzou. And then I think he kind of segued into the guy that ran what they called mini Mizzou. But Norm Rubling was a staple in Columbia, Missouri like no other. If you were someone who was kind of a lifer in Como, I was there from 83 until 96. So he was the type of guy, and he played in a lot of bands, and he was a great drummer as well. But people knew Norm if they were from Columbia. He was probably one of the better known people, and he was a big dude, warm and lovable, had this amazing reputation, but cancer sucks, and he got cancer post COVID. I think he was 71 years old, so he wasn't that old, but a lot of my friends in Columbia are memorializing Norm. I did not have any real connection with him in my later years, but I knew him very well when I was in Columbia for those years. Hadn't seen him, but I've been keeping up with him on Facebook, and he's a big loss for the community. So I wanted to give Norm Rubling a shout out today, and rest in peace. We'll take a break here, and then we'll come back. There's activity in Iran, and we had Jen Griffin from Fox reporting on this earlier. Right at the end of the roundtable, we found out that there was retaliation for that drone strike on the Singapore ship yesterday. Those strikes are reportedly continuing. We'll get the latest, and we're going to get an analysis of this from Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator from Missouri, his thoughts on the latest activity. Then we'll segue into some fun music stuff with Tim Sommer. Now, let me just say this. I've been listening to this Keith Urban yacht rock record that has, Steal Away and Guitar Man by Bread, which he does with John Mayer. I love it. I don't think Tim loves it quite as much as I do because he's been texting this afternoon. I can't wait to share our opinions. We'll do that in the next hour. Of course, audio cut of the day as well.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, we've had a couple of issues out there, and southbound 270, we still have a slow go, headed down toward 55, heaviest from 44 on down. We had an earlier accident there, and that caused a delay as people took Lindbergh instead, so slowing through that. Now, 55 southbound looks good. It has opened up. And westbound 64 is slowing Hampton out through McCausland. It's a little bit of volume out at Wentzville as well. 70 westbound, some moderate volume from K in the Lake St. Louis Boulevard area. Eastbound a little slow through there as well. Now we're fine on the bridges downtown, but eastbound 64 does slow at 255, and northbound or eastbound 5570 is slow between 255 and a point east of there. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
For 250 years, America has been more than a place. It's been a promise, a story of courage, hope, and dreams. And through it all, local TV and radio broadcasters have been there, telling the story of America, bringing truth to light. Broadcasters tell the story of who we are and who we aspire to be. We are America's storytellers. We are broadcasters. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
The 2027 models are arriving, and that means huge savings during the 2026 closeout sale at Apache Village RV. Right now, every remaining 2026 RV is priced to sell, including popular models from Jayco, Forest River, and Keystone. Whether you're looking for a travel trailer, fifth wheel, or motorhome, now is your chance to score a great deal before these models are gone. Don't miss your opportunity to save thousands and get road trip ready for your next adventure. The 2026 inventory won't last long. Shop the closeout sale today at both locations in Hazelwood and AVRV in O'Fallon or Apache Village RV.
When's the last time you gave your home's exterior a little love? Hi, it's Kim, and if your siding is cracking, it's fading, or just doesn't stand up to our St. Louis weather, it's time to call Lakeside Renovation and Design because they're experts in James Hardy siding, which is this durable, low-maintenance option, and it looks beautiful. Plus, you have customizable colors and textures, and so you can give your home a completely new look while protecting it for decades. Don't wait until the small problems turn into big ones. Visit lakesidearty.com to schedule your free consultation.
Corey, from Air Comfort Service? Why are you standing next to my AC?
I'm standing behind our work.
But it's 8 p.m. You're just going to stand behind my air conditioner?
Yeah, pretty much.
Could you turn off the sprinkler then?
Absolutely. At Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation, we take pride in our work. If you need a new air conditioner or HVAC system, you can trust we'll install the equipment correctly. Plus, for a limited time, qualify for rebates up to $2,600 and 0% financing for up to 72 months. For a free estimate, visit aircomfortservice.com.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
What if you had a plan to build income outside your job? At Lifestyles Unlimited, you'll learn how people are investing in real estate to grow their income and make smarter financial choices one property at a time. Right now, join us for just $297. That's a savings of $443 off our real estate education program. Text RADIO to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007. Presented by Lifestyles Unlimited.
Gentlemen, Mark Cox here. When's the last time you actually felt like yourself? Victory Men's Health specializes in hormone optimization, sexual health, weight loss, and longevity. It's built for everyday men who just want to feel better and perform their best. They already have offices in Town and Country, Sunset Hills, O'Fallon, Missouri, and O'Fallon, Illinois. They're about to open a new location in Glen Carbon very soon. It's a higher standard of care just waiting for you. Learn more at victorymenshealth.com.
Never miss a beat. Take 97.1 FM Talk with you. The voices you trust, Mark Cox, Annie Fry, Mark Reardon, Scott Jennings, and more are just a tap away with the Odyssey app. Stream 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative. KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
This is a Fox News alert. The U.S. military is carrying out strikes against Iran.
This is in response for what the president has said was a breach of the Memorandum of Understanding and a breach of the ceasefire. We heard that there were explosions in 3 locations in Sirik, Iran. That is along the Strait of Hormuz coast. Now we have a statement from CENTCOM saying that the targets were drone and missile storage sites as well as radar installations. It is a strong warning shot across the bow at Iran to get the IRGC under control and to stop firing on ships in the Strait of Hormuz.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin. Iran's Revolutionary Guard says its response to today's U.S. attack will be, in its words, swift and decisive. The case against a man accused of starting last year's deadly Palisades fire ends in a mistrial. Fox's William LaJeunesse has details from Los Angeles.
A mistrial this morning declared in the case against the man accused of setting the most expensive fire in U.S. history. 10 jurors said they would vote against conviction or not guilty. 2 others would not go along on any of the 3 charges: arson, destruction of property, and lighting a timber fire. U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley has already said he will retry the case. I want to read a note that the jury sent to the judge last night. Quote, "We have people on both sides that are dead set, unwavering. We are at a standstill. We are unsure how to proceed. There is nothing the court can do to assist the jury in their deliberations." To those watching this case, not a real surprise.
And federal prosecutors say investigators arrested 20-year-old Alexander Mercado of Chicago on charges of helping plan the terror attack on the UFC event at the White House earlier this month. They say Mercado helped administer encrypted signal chat groups where the attack was discussed. America's listening to Fox News.
Please be advised, you may want to stop eating the following foods immediately: broccoli, kale, blueberries, quinoa, spinach.
I thought those were good for me.
What's healthy for one person may cause inflammation for another. So how do you know what your body actually needs? That's where Viome comes in. Viome is a simple, at-home gut health test that analyzes your real-time biology to give you personalized nutrition guidance and custom supplements.
Learn more at Viome.com/gut. V as in Victor, IOME.com/GUT. And use coupon code GUTHEALTH50 to save $50 off your purchase.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft.
Oh no.
That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If we find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes to your financial accounts, we alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that could make all the difference. Save up to 30% with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Let's keep our skies a little unsettled as we go through the evening and the overnight, but the action is fading slowly. 70 for the low. Go into the last weekend of June. Partly sunny skies Saturday, limited shower and thunder shower activity, a lot of dry time. 89 for the high on Saturday. Saturday night, partly cloudy, nothing more than a spot thunderstorm, and very humid, 73. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, we have some military activity in the Middle East right now. The U.S. and Iran are trading fire after the Strait of Hormuz attack yesterday on the freighter. And this is Jen Griffin from Fox News kind of reporting. At first, her report was maybe it was limited strikes, but we think that they're continuing right now.
I just spoke to a senior U.S. defense official, and those airstrikes are ongoing as we speak. So this is not over. The response by the U.S. military to that strike by the IRGC using a one-way attack drone targeting that Singapore flagship overnight. But there are still more targets that CENTCOM is going after as we speak. We had heard about those original 3 airstrikes in Sirik, Iran. Those were from local reports on the ground. And we learned from the CENTCOM statement that it was drone storage sites, missile storage sites, as well as air radar defense systems. But right now, we can say that they're striking more targets, and it's clear that they're trying to send a very strong message to the Iranians to basically cut it out.
And I think that that's probably the move that I was hoping for and anticipating, and I guess that's happening. Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator from Missouri, expert on all things foreign policy, with us this afternoon. Senator, how are you? Welcome back.
I'm fine, and those are kind words. Thank you, Mark.
What do you think here? I mean, again, it would have been shocking to me if there wasn't some response. But let's just talk about what the Iranians did first, because who's doing that? Is it someone that's rogue? Is it someone that's with the RGC? Because we seem to be thinking that we're talking to the right people on this memo of understanding. But how can you do something like that, like 3 days in, and not expect retaliation?
Well, here's what I think. We all have to keep the context in mind. Okay, Iran has suffered a generational defeat. And 2 years ago, they were a powerful, relative to the other countries in the region except Israel, they were a powerful nation state capable of dominating significant parts of the Middle East, and they did. I mean, they dominated Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, and much of Yemen. I'm not going to go through their military inventories. They had a substantial military industrial base. They had powerful proxies that they were able to fund and support. And all of that is essentially gone. They've been reduced in terms of their capabilities, basically to the level of a subnational force. I mean, I think the proper comparison is the Houthis. The Houthis can threaten shipping right along their coast, and so is Iran. Now, why is that important for where we are now? It's because the regime is still in place. They're looking at their situation. They're going to need trillions of dollars to rebuild, which will never happen. And what are they getting out of this deal? They're getting the right to ship oil out for a few months, basically, till we get to the end of the year. It's not going to do it for them. And so the only leverage they have left, Mark, is their ability to threaten the strait. And I think they're using it to try and loosen us up, or the Gulf states, to give them large sums of money. And what we said today was, with this response, no, that's not going to happen. And so you're right not to be. I would have been shocked also if we hadn't responded strongly. We want this thing to be on pause for a while oil prices settle down. We get through the next few months. And then we'll take the next step in dealing with, whatever remains of the Iranian problem.
But there's been a lot of criticism, certainly, of the memo of understanding, even from people on the right, saying it's not really achieving the stated goals going in. So when it comes to the entirety of that agreement, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, we already achieved the stated goals because the stated goal was to destroy their capabilities. Now, we did it in the hopes that it would change their intention or that the regime would collapse. That was not the mission. I mean, you can go back and check it out. And I think what did happen was the president wanted oil markets to settle down. I think the Asian allies were screaming at him. I think the Gulf state allies were screaming. And I understand. They were losing a lot of money. I think he was concerned about the possible downstream economic effects to us, which we know is a priority for the president. So he said to himself, okay, you know what? We'll get the strait open. We'll get the oil flowing. Things will settle down. I now have plenty of time to deal with the Iranians because they're so weak. And I think that's still his position.
But then what do you do? Because missing from the conversation is the highly enriched uranium, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they say inspectors will be let in, but we've heard that before.
The president wants to absolutely eliminate the program, and I think the reason he does is because, first of all, he is absolutely focused on that. More so, I mean, I'm focused on it too, but I'm content with what we've done to it. We have a huge margin of error now. It's going to take him years, and of course, the Israelis are going to be policing everything they do. I don't think they can ever get it back on its feet. I think the president is sitting there thinking, what happens when I go? What if we get another Obama? In other words, he wants to eliminate the program because he's figuring, I'm going to get it done while I'm here. So the next president, can't do anything too stupid. So he's focused on that. But I think the president, they're never going to give that up. I mean, I'd love to tell you I think they will.
No, you're going to have to take it, right? So,
yeah,
and
exactly.
That's
and I
not
don't
likely.
think we're not going to go in on the ground. I don't think. It's possible if they have really good intel and they have a Venezuela-like special ops plan and they can go in and try and get it. But I don't think we're going to see anything happen until the markets settle down, the economies settle down. And frankly, I mean, the president wants to get past the election.
Right.
Democratic leaders are political actors. And he and Netanyahu, we're seeing, what's happening to Netanyahu. I mean, he's Trump's friend, but Trump's going to do what he thinks is in the interest of the country, even if it leaves Netanyahu out hanging.
I think you're right about that. Yeah, former Senator Jim Talent is here. Let me ask you, since I have you outside of the topic of Iran, just your thoughts on what happened in New York with these congressional seats and the way that the Democrats are drifting toward complete socialism. I guess you got to give them credit because they're not lying about their positions. They're being honest. But you have these young voters, young women voters in particular. Dan Goldman, who's one of the most rabidly left-wing lunatics on Capitol Hill, gets booted out. And he got crushed in his primary. I raised this question before. I don't know that Wesley Bell's going to lose to Cory Bush, but don't you have to give Cory Bush a little bit more of a chance than you did before this week in that rematch?
Yeah, we have to see what happens there because this is a determined attempt by the socialists to take over the party. It's obvious that that's what they're trying to do. And I think, at least in the short term, the more responsible people in the party are trying to figure out what to do. I mean, this wasn't mentioned much, but there was another district where Nydia Velazquez, who is an old friend of mine. I mean, she was the ranking member of the Small Business Committee when I chaired it. She's retiring, and she had a successor in mind who probably would have been very good and fit the district, and that person got beat. So I think they're all stepping back now and trying to figure out what to do. In the meantime, this is very bad for them politically. I mean, this is no question it is. I mean, the American people are not going to vote for socialism. And every Republican candidate has the right and should throw this stuff in the face of the Democrats. I'm talking about socialism. That's before you even get to the anti-Semitism.
I agree. It's a gift to the Republicans in a year where, the assumption is the midterms are going to go one way, and I think they probably still, but this is certainly going to carve out a lane for Republicans to go after these Democrats. This is what their party has become. And if the sane Democrats in Missouri or elsewhere want to become sane, well, they better not just keep not talking about it. They have to call these people out, but I think they're afraid to do that.
They should. Well, wait till if you're a candidate and you don't call, look, if it was me, because they want to throw President Trump and what they see as his excesses at me. And I would love that if I was running, because I would say, oh, yeah, let's look at what President Trump's done.
Right.
And I would talk about energy. I would talk about the economy. I would talk about the border. I would talk about crime. I would talk about stopping fraud. I'd go through the list of what the president's done. And I said, now, since you want me to answer for the president, maybe you could answer for, and then I would list all these other people. That's what they need to do. So, look, are you on board with socialism, anti-Semitism, abolishing prisons? Is that, these are your party members.
Yeah,
you
well,
support them?
Hakeem and, Elizabeth Warren, they're just kind of trying to run from the questions right now. But that is going to be interesting to see how it kind of plays itself out. Senator Jim Talent, always great to have you on. I saw your wife the other night at a suite at the Cardinals game. It was good to see Brenda. You guys have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Take care. The one story I wanted to touch on before we get to some fun stuff with Tim Sommer here on music is, and Sue, we followed this story with the fires in California pretty closely, thanks to our friend Brian Ping, who is out there, St. Louis native at KNX, and I was, as you remember, I was fascinated by all those. It was amazing devastation when all this was happening a year and a half ago. So they had a trial that was going on against this former Uber driver who was accused of sparking the Palisades fire, but the jurors deliberated 13 hours, and they were deadlocked on all 3 felony counts. 10 of the 12 jurors said that they would acquit. 2 said guilty. So, I'm just going to tell you what my take is, and we'll see if any of this comes out. I think the kid might be guilty, okay? But I also think you have to prove that, and that there was a fair amount, because there was circumstantial evidence, and you can convict on circumstantial evidence, but direct physical, evidence might have been missing. But here's some of the jurors.
Really just 2 holding out the entire time. We were kind of going back and forth, and it was undecided and decided. Maybe 4 of us were set on the not guilty, and then they were all undecided, and then it just happened that one person was not going to budge from the guilties, and then someone this morning said, I go on that side too.
All right, so I guess it was, they said 2 not guilties, but 1 was really insistent.
It makes me sad as an American that, we couldn't come to a conclusion, and honestly wish I could come back and do it, because I wish we could have came to a conclusion. Definitely started out, the majority was always not guilty. Probably 7, and then 3 undecided, 2 guilty, and then we talked, and when we realized it was someone wasn't gonna budge, we were what are we doing here? I'm gonna go nuts.
Yeah, so they're saying, look, we didn't follow this daily, right, with what the evidence was in the court, but the juror thought that the prosecution did a really poor job.
I just feel such negligence. Honestly, I hate saying that because I'm not, it didn't happen to me, but there was so many people up there that said they did see smoldering, so why wasn't it taken care of? It was put out, and no one was there. I think in the photos 6 a.m., nobody was there. People were hiking, and it wasn't until the huge Palisades happened. And a lot of things were not maybe necessarily excluded, but the way it was presented was very misleading. I didn't realize that camera was still shots. I thought it was a video. So that really changed my decision, because when you have gaps of time, know what happened in between that time is impossible.
Yeah, so it's reasonable doubt. Look,
that's exactly it.
I think they have the kid, but if you got reasonable doubt, if you got 10 jurors. Now, the question is, and I think they are going to retry it. Do you retry it now with all those resources?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I think they said that they might. Here, this is an alternate juror, but I don't think they were in the in the jury room debating. Let's see what they say.
I would have leaned not guilty as well. I think a lot of the witnesses that the defense brought really helped sway me. They brought in their own experts. Having not secured a scene for almost 2 weeks says a lot. And to pin that on one person, at the end of the day, we're all human. I realize mistakes are made, but this is a man's life, and we can't ignore that fact either.
So this is interesting, because what I heard in those 2 bites, those were 2 different jurors, right? 2 different female jurors. There is no doubt that they are placing blame on Mayor Bass and the fire department, because you can hear what they're saying in their voice.
Yeah.
Right? Because why wasn't that? That's the question. The issue there was there were things that were said in that he's accused of basically setting the fire that turned into the Palisades fire, but it was smoldering for a long time. The question is, why was that not checked or put out on January 1st, when I think some of that was originally detected? I could get the timeline wrong here.
But I know what you're saying.
Yeah, but it sounds to me like they, again, from the very beginning here, the evidence is a little sketchy. Not, again, that they have the wrong person, but what concerns me there is she said, how can you pin it on one person? Well, he was accused of intentionally setting it.
Correct.
Right?
That's
it wasn't.
how.
He's not accidentally being accused of, we didn't put out our fire. He's being accused of setting these fires.
But it sounds like there's just too many gaps in time that anybody else could have done something.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to get off of this topic. We'll talk about yacht rock music and have a debate about that. Keith Urban's got this new album out. I think it's fantastic. We'll see what Tim Sommer thinks coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
accident causing delays on the Illinois side, and it's northbound or eastbound 5570. Between 255 and 159 is a jam. And northbound 255 is slowing at Horseshoe Lake Road. We've also, on the Illinois side, got a delay eastbound 64 headed for 157. That is due to road work. There's some volume westbound on the Poplar Street Bridge and 6440 from Kings Highway out through McCausland, with eastbound slowing approaching 170 through Big Bend, and 70 out west. Some moderate volume in pockets, and this is approaching 370 through the O'Fallon area. 6440 looks better. That's your best bet if you have a choice. It's 270 southbound. They cleared the accident north of 55, and it looks pretty good. Southbound 141 is pretty slow as you head for 21, and 55 is in good shape. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
When you ride, you feel the freedom of the open road. But when the road turns dangerous and an accident happens, the pain and confusion can be overwhelming. If you're injured in a motorcycle accident, you need someone who understands. At Kaufman Townsley, we're your St. Louis neighbors. We live here, work here, and we know how important your recovery is. We'll fight for you so you can focus on healing. Kaufman Townsley, real people, real results. Call 314-777-7777.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, you're not alone. Most importantly, you don't have to live with it. Paramount Men's Medical Center restores men's sex lives in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, even when Viagra and Cialis don't work. Here's Dr. Simovitz, specialist in men's health.
Paramount Men's Medical Center's painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. 98% of patients see instant results right in the office.
Men are now lasting longer than they ever imagined. And the best part, at Paramount Men's Medical Center, your consultation and first treatment are free. Qualified patients even get their testosterone checked free. Call 314-887-4333. 314-887-4333. Take control of your sex life. Call now. 314-887-4333.
The Mark Reardon Show is St. Louis Conservative.
Well, this is not Grover Washington Jr. This is Keith Urban. His new album is called Flow State. It's a yacht rock album. I like this one quite a bit, just the two of us. A lot of these songs start up very similar to the originals, but then they get into a little Keith Urban guitar stuff later in the mixes. But I've been listening to a lot of these songs.
I see the crystal raindrops fall, and the beauty of it all is when the sun comes shining.
And Sue, I started as a disc jockey in 1981, so a lot of the songs that are featured on this record, and we'll play a few more of them, I played these on the radio. These were the first songs I was playing on the radio. We have our friend Tim Sommer, music journalist, former record executive, with us this afternoon to relate to some big music stories, including the death of Clive Davis earlier this week. But Tim, how are you? Happy Friday.
Thank you so much, and it's always a pleasure, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, to be on the air with you and Sue. And I know I have to tell you something. This Keith Urban album, Flow State, is the name of the album.
Yes.
Flow, F-L-O-W, State. It transcends cynicism, and what I mean by that is on two angles. It is really a delight to listen to. And I have said for the 45 years I've been in the music industry, and say the 35 or 40 of those years that I was actively involved in making records, because I'm one of those fortunate people who was involved in the process of making records, either behind a board or in a studio or even as a musician. The reason, and this is very important, Mark and Sue, the reason somebody should make a record is because they want to listen to it. And too often, people, especially people as successful as Keith Urban, they make records because they think it's what the market wants. It's what their manager wants. It's what their producer tells them to do. I listened to Flow State by Keith Urban, and I'm hearing a record that he made because it's what he
wanted to hear. And because of that, I have to say it's a delight.
See, I thought you were going to hate it because you were kind of texting us earlier. Look, some of these songs, they get stuck in your brain from the 70s, and he makes some interesting choices as well. But there's some collaborations on this that I really like. And there's only one, and I didn't know this, and it makes sense now because I was listening to this song, We Go Back, and I'm like, I don't know this one from the 70s. I know, it's the new one with Michael McDonald, right? So we got to get to the Michael McDonald part here.
Same roads, I know the streets you grew up on.
I like this one a lot.
First of all, our friends to fall in love.
I think he comes in on the chorus. There we go. A little St. Louis connection with Michael McDonald. I had to get that one in there, Tim. I like it. But that's called We Go Back, and that's the only new track on the record. Yeah.
I know you expected me to be cynical about this, but the fact is, this is music he loves, and he did it in a loving way. Now, can I be cynical about it? Yes. I'll tell you the two ways I can be cynical about it. This is the music that I used to hear in high school and junior high that drove me to punk rock.
And I'm not going to lie. When I was playing this, I was 15, 16, 17 years old. Wasn't my favorite either, but those were the hits.
Russian Blue Oyster Cult and Triumph.
And I did, but I was also playing these on the radio, just what it was at the time. But I grew to have more appreciation for these songs, I think, later in life because, well, nostalgia and everything else. They're fun songs. This is Steal Away, Robbie Dupree. I hear this one I like a lot because it's probably a song, well, I don't know, Bread, David Gates, Guitar Man. Listen. But what I love about this song is because I have a man crush on John Mayer at the end of Guitar Man. Here's the start. Play a little of this, and then I'll get to the guitar shredding. But at the end of the song, John Mayer joins, and they just shred right here. So there's some great guitar work. As I indicated earlier, a lot of the songs start very, very similar, if not exactly the same as the originals, but then there's some cool guitar work and some bridges that he throws in that are really good. So I like it. It's fun to listen to.
I think it's a delightful album. I can't say at the end of the day that any of these songs are better than the originals, but I have to say it is a loving album. Now, there are a lot of questions it raises. The bigger question is why, and I'm not saying we should go into this, I'm really not, but why are we so fascinated with yacht rock? Do we all, and I think in a weird way, and don't take this as a political statement, the answer to this question is, I'm answering this question in advance of when I'm going to ask it, which is yes. Do we really all want to go back to the Jimmy Carter era of the world? And in some ways, we think to ourselves, you know what? It wasn't that bad when we didn't have cell phones. It wasn't that bad when we didn't have computers. It wasn't all that bad when we all had 3 or 5 channels. There's a lot of people who are longing for the simplicity of that time, the fairness of that time.
Agreed. Yeah, no, I think you're right about that. Look, I went to see, and this goes back, I think, 3 years ago with my dear friend John Lynch here. We went to Kansas City. He had never seen Springsteen, so I took him to Springsteen. This was before he lost his mind earlier this year. But he had a Tesla, and they had a radio station, like a yacht rock station on the Tesla. And John and I are basically the same age. So he throws that on. We're driving back from Kansas City. We decided to come back after the show, and we're listening to this. And, it just brings back a lot of memories. It's not like these are songs that I will throw on and listen to on my mixes or anything like that. But once they kind of come back in your head, you're like, you know what? That was kind of a cool song. And then when the documentary came out a couple of years ago, sort of really capitalizing on the fascination that people have with yacht rock, I think that maybe that inspired Keith. I have no idea. But they are all songs that kind of were hits and at least got stuck in our brains.
That's right. And I listened to this record. I listened to the production, which is very faithful to the original production and the beautiful original productions. And I think to myself, those times, maybe they happen, I don't know how often they've happened to you, those times where you lost track of how many Benadryl you took. And you took maybe 2 Benadryl when you only meant to take 1. And all of a sudden, you don't know why, you feel really, really good. And you feel really, really good about the world. And you think to yourself, you know what? I just wish I could stay in this state and I could live in a world where there were 5 channels on the TV and Republicans and Democrats didn't get along, but sometimes they agreed on things. And there wasn't cell phones and all these apps I had to worry about.
and I used to go out and I could lie to my parents just by saying, "Oh, I'm at so-and-so's house sleeping over."
Right, exactly.
We're out running around. And the fact is, this album, and again, I'm surprised that I like this album so much, because when I first heard about it, as you know from earlier this afternoon, I was like, what the hell? This is what I hated in high school. But the fact is, this isn't only what Tim Sommer hated in high school. It represents what we loved about the culture. It represents a time when things were bloody simpler, and we all like that idea.
You know what, Tim? For me, the 70s, I was a littler kid. So the 80s, when I actually grew up, it's too soon for me to be... You know, I hear something, I think, I still feel like I've heard that 1.5 million times. But if I hear something from the 70s, I'm like, I don't know it. I know it, but I don't know every single thing about it. And
let me ask you a question. This week in town, there's a big show at Radio City Hall. It's sold out. Radio City Hall is a big venue, about 5,000 seats, with the Human League and Soft Cell. Is that the kind of show you would have gone to?
I would go in a heartbeat.
My gosh.
Yeah.
But see, I still feel
By
like...
the way, my wife is killing me for not getting tickets.
Of course she is. But to me, that's still very recent. Yeah, I don't know why. Like the
that was
80s,
81.
80s feel... But yeah, you're right. The earlier the 80s, then I'm a little bit better. But so for me, this is a decade before, so I don't know it as well, but I know it. It's like part of my, you know what I mean? So it's not old to me. I guess that's what it is.
And I love the fact that Mark can surprise me. Mark said he wanted to talk about this, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to say a lot of asinine, cynical things about
And that's
this.
okay. And that's okay.
And then I sat down and listened to it, and I said, you know what, man? This just feels right. This feels right for the time.
So let me give you an example of some simpler times things. I've been looking for an opportunity.
Just relax, Tim.
I've been looking for an opportunity to talk about this because I often express my affection for John Mayer because I do love him as an artist, and I listen to his radio station. His radio station on Sirius XM is very eclectic. I mean, he plays everything, and he introduces me to a lot of new music. But he also shares stories, and I find out things like the Beach Boys were singing background on one of his songs, and I didn't know that. And then he plays on some other artists as well. But he did this, and I've heard him because some of this stuff it's not live, it's recorded. He does go on that station live, but he talked about the loss that we may have experienced as an inhumanity, if you will, when we stopped going to airline gates to say goodbye and to greet our loved ones. Remember, because we grew up in that era where you could go to the gate.
All three of us are old enough to remember that.
Right.
I remember you go right up to the gate. That's
people hugging and crying and saying goodbye and saying hello. Now, certainly you have some of that outside.
And waving at the windows. You used to stand at the windows and you could wave to the person as the plane pulled away.
And his point, John Mayer's point, was we just lost a little of humanity when that went away. And I can't agree more. And I know why we did it, obviously.
This album, you know what? If I had to sum up this Keith Urban album, it is the sound of standing at the gate, waving at someone at the plane as the plane goes.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm going to paint that picture a little more. We'll go out to Sue's Traffic, but we're coming back with more with Tim Sommer. We got to talk a little bit more about the death of Clive Davis coming up.
Just the two of us, oh, you and I.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Westbound 70, not bad. A little slow, though, at 370. And eastbound is slow, headed for Wentzville. That is all due to road work. Now, if you're westbound on 6440, it's the usual volume. So approaching Hampton, out through McCausland. Eastbound has some slow pockets east of Lindbergh through Big Bend. And if you're headed in from Illinois, there is some volume westbound on the Poplar Street Bridge. But it's 5570 eastbound that is just jammed between 255 and 159, and northbound 255 jams due to road work north of 5570. We've also got volume eastbound 64 at 255. And there is a little bit of volume on the Missouri side, southbound 55. Just moderate, though, through the construction zone near Highway M. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Let's talk about ThrottleNet. George Rosenthal is one of the co-founders of ThrottleNet. He joins us every Tuesday night, and we talk Tech Talk Tuesdays. It's great stuff, but his company, ThrottleNet, can help you if you're a business owner. And it's cool for me because I've known George for a while, but I finally made it over to see the physical building of ThrottleNet. I saw the operation. I saw the screens and the people working for, all these companies here in St. Louis and beyond that want to make sure that they have cybersecurity that is top notch. And that's exactly what you're going to get. Now, what George will tell you is that a lot of businesses, and this is shocking, don't know exactly where they stand. Are they secure? Are they, a key punch away from a breach? They're going to offer you a free baseline IT security audit that gives you a clear starting point. If you don't have that, you're not going to know where to go. If you don't, like confusing reports, this is perfect for you because what it does is it gives you a very simple risk score. It shows you where you're strong and where you have gaps. It's a very practical way to understand real-world risk without the guesswork. So if you would like to improve your cybersecurity, you don't do that until you know your baseline. Find it out. Go to throttlenet.com/971. That gives you a free baseline IT security audit. Throttlenet.com/971. They're great. And George is awesome on Tuesday nights with Tech Talk Tuesday.
I'm Bill Hemmer, and these are the most impactful moments in American history. In 1887, 20-year-old Anne Sullivan arrived in Tuscumbia, Alabama, with a daunting task ahead of her. It was at the Ivy Green estate that she was to teach a girl whom others could not reach. Her name, Helen Keller. As an infant, a severe infection robbed Helen of her sight and hearing, leaving her alone in a dark and silent world. For weeks, Anne tried to introduce language to Helen by tracing words, milk, drink, mug, onto Helen's hand. But finally, one word clicked. Anne wrote water on Helen's palm and poured cool water over Helen's hands. In that moment, Helen had the keys to unlock the barrier of language before her and change the way the world approached disabilities in education.
America 250 on 97.1 FM Talk, sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
For decades, Morgan & Morgan has represented hundreds of thousands of people at their hour of need. Injuries on the job, car crashes, medical malpractice, and nursing home abuse, Social Security claims, dangerous drugs, and dangerous products. We became America's largest injury firm for a reason, and no firm is even close. Then we got to thinking, what if we could prevent these terrible events before they occurred? So we built the AI-powered People Protector. Simply visit peopleprotector.com and type in the product you have questions about before you buy it. Children's toys and accessories, cars, drugs, products, you name it, we got it. With our success, we decided to pay it forward for all of America. Our way of saying thank you for your trust all these years. Morgan & Morgan, protecting America. And if you've already been injured, just visit us at forthepeople.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show at 5:36, sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Real talk, today's issues. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis conservative.
All right, our music guru Tim Sommer is here. This is another new song from the Rolling Stones. Their new album, Foreign Tongues, comes out in a couple of weeks. This one's called Jealous Lover with Steve Winwood. Ooh. I don't know if I like it as much as the earlier releases. They actually released another song called Divine Intervention. And Tim, I guess they have Robert Smith on this record. And then I think we also mentioned that posthumously they have some Charlie Watts drumming on this record as well.
I think they've done a very good job of getting people excuse me. I think they've done a very good job of getting people interested in the idea of a new Rolling Stones record, and that's good. It's an uphill battle for an artist like the Rolling Stones or for an artist like Paul McCartney. And as I think I may have mentioned it to you before, I really like the new Paul McCartney.
Oh, yeah, we talked about it. Yes.
Yeah.
And I haven't really
And,
dug into that one. I still need to do that.
And the Rolling Stones, in the past, with their new releases, and you and I have talked before about the quality of their releases in, like, say, the last 10 or 15 years. In the past, they've been a little too adamant about proving, hey, we can still deliver, we can still rock. It does sound to me like on this record, they're taking a step back and actually thinking about doing something just to make interesting new music. Now, I don't love this new song, but at least they're not going out of there just saying, like, hey, look, we're 85, but we can still rock.
Right.
Instead, they're saying, we're going to sit in the pocket a little bit and try to actually think about the effect this song can have. And I like that. I like that. And I'm interested in hearing the album, which is more than I can say for a lot of the stuff the Rolling Stones have done over the last 20 years.
Here's what I liked about, and Jealous Lover, the one that I just played, is probably not my favorite either, but it got, I don't even know how you'd refer to it, but Mick's doing a little bit more of the falsetto type of lyrics on that. Now, the second single that they released, In the Stars, I really liked. I thought it was great.
I really like that, too.
So we'll see. And I didn't know. I guess McCartney's on this record as well. It comes out on July 10th. But let's talk about Clive Davis. We talked about this a little earlier this week. He's a music legend. He passed away, and he's the guy that was working his way up in Columbia Records in the 1960s. He was a lawyer. He became the head of the label. He signed people like Bruce Springsteen, Barbra Streisand, Billy Joel, Simon and Garfunkel. The list goes on. And that's just the first part of his career, right, Tim?
Well, the interesting thing is he then went on to create this label. He didn't create Arista Records. Arista Records had been an existing label called Bell, B-E-L-L.
Oh, I don't think I know that. I don't think I knew that either.
Which was largely known for glitter rock and sort of teenage pop music. For instance, the Bay City Rollers were on Bell Records.
Oh, yeah.
And then he transitioned Bell Records to Arista Records. And the interesting thing and sort of rare thing about Clive Davis is as much as he was interested in hits, but he was interested in hits done in an interesting way. He made sure the productions were interesting. He was the kind of person who realized that sometimes to get the biggest hits, you have to take the biggest risks. In addition to that, he was someone who, and this is very rare for an entertainment executive who also makes gigantic hits. He was interested in making interesting artistic records. Someone pointed out the other day that if Clive Davis did nothing else, he made Horses by Patti Smith, one of the immortal records of all time, and he made Street Hassle by Lou Reed, which is by far Lou Reed's best solo record, and one of his stranger records, too. It's a deep, dark, investigative record about trying to come out of an addiction cycle, and it's one of the most beautiful records in the 1970s. By the way, Bruce Springsteen's on that record. Interestingly enough, Bruce Springsteen's on one of Patti Smith's biggest hits, Because the Night.
Well, he wrote that and gave that one to Patti Smith, yeah.
And Bruce Springsteen is also on probably my all-time favorite Lou Reed song, the title song off of the album Street Hassle, called Street Hassle. In addition, I only had one long conversation, me personally. I only had one long conversation with Clive Davis, which is back in 1995 when he interviewed me for a job. And really, the only thing we talked about was the band The Kinks.
Really?
Huh. Clive Davis, in the mid-1970s, the Kinks were basically done as a record-selling entity. All of the records they had put out, say, in the mid-early 1970s, had kind of flopped after Lola. And Clive Davis said, this is a band worth taking a chance on, and he bought them back to both artistic and commercial prominence. And really, all I had to say to Clive Davis was, I want to thank you for the risk you took on the Kinks. And that's the rare thing about Clive Davis, is that he took risks in order to make hits, and then he took risks to sign artists just because they did interesting artistic things. That is very rare and almost non-existent in today's environment.
And I don't even remember exactly how I got to know who he was, but I was just this young kid starting in radio, and I got to know a lot of the local record reps, and I discovered who Clive Davis was. And I remember this so well because when I was 17, almost about to turn 18 years old, I went to Spain with a school group, and I stayed in Valencia, and I was staying with this family. I was very lucky to reunite with the family a few years ago when I went to Barcelona. But I remember this because I was uncomfortable being in this home that I was, in not speaking the language, and I read Clive Davis's autobiography, which I think came out in 1975. And Tim, I wanted to be Clive Davis. So you ended up being an A&R guy, artist and repertoire. You signed acts and you picked songs. That's what I wanted to do. That was my dream. And it was my dream because of Clive Davis. Now, my career took several turns and I ended up in talk radio, which is fine. I might be dead if I was in the music industry. But he was an inspiration to me because of the success that he had. And I even thought about going to law school because that's what he was at Columbia Records. He was an attorney.
Probably what interested you about him wasn't just his success, it was the artistic chances he took. And I feel so fortunate, even if it was only just for about 30 or 40 minutes one afternoon in 1995, that I got to go to his bungalow, and I think he had a permanent bungalow at the Beverly Hills Hotel, which is a legendary hotel. I think it's on the cover of the Hotel California album.
Wow.
The Eagles, and I got to sit with him in his bungalow at the Beverly Hills Hotel and talk about music, and I feel so fortunate. And he offered me a job, which I turned down, which was likely a mistake, but who's to say what's a mistake, what's not a mistake. But I feel so fortunate to have been able to sit in the same room with Clive Davis, who, again, this is the thing. Music executives have far more failures than they have successes. The fact that we can remember not only so many of his successes, but the fact that he made these important artistic statements, too, with artists like Lou Reed and Patti Smith and the Kinks. And again, you listen to an album, I'm going to refer to the Lou Reed album again, this album called Street Hassle, which came out, I think, in 1977. I could be off by a year or two. And it is such a strong, powerful artistic statement. And Clive Davis was the kind of person who said, we are going to make records like this. Yes, we're also going to make records that are going to sell 2, 3, 5, 10 million copies.
Whitney Houston, for example, right.
We're also going to make records that are important that I want people to hear because they are big artistic statements. And God bless them for that.
Well, we're going to let you go because we're short on time, but you have a new book coming out, and I haven't started it yet. You sent a couple of copies, so give us a little preview of that because I know we're going to talk about it closer to August, right?
It is out on August 4th. It is called Dispatches from the Kingdom of Outsiders, writing about music, culture, and more, 1979-2025. And it's an anthology containing some of my work that I've been writing since I was 16 years old. As you guys know, I began professionally writing as a journalist when I was 16. So this is a collection of some of my favorite pieces, and I'll just give a very quick plug that you can pre-order it on Barnes & Noble or on Amazon or whatever your favorite streaming service is. But it's just a collection of some of my favorite pieces, and I guarantee there's going to be stuff in there that you can enjoy, that's going to make you mad, that's going to make you angry, that's going to make you shout.
I can't wait.
That's
laugh.
great.
Awesome.
It is a high-energy, emotional music book, and I think your listeners will enjoy it.
I'm just going to tease you with this just because I can, and you're not going to know, but I am sending you, I already told you I'm going to send you a Mark Reardon Show t-shirt. You can't get these, you got to get them on eBay. They cost at least $500,000 at this point. But I also have something I'm going to send you that I think you're going to really love from a friend. So it's going to be a little bit of a surprise that's going to come for you. And I'm sending this to your friend, Todd, who you introduced me to, Todd Kearns, who was with Triumph a few weeks ago. I told him he has to have a limited edition Mark Reardon Show t-shirt as well. So look for a package. It might even be there by America's birthday. But you have a great, great weekend, and we'll talk soon, Tim Sommer. Thanks you so much.
Tim.
Wonderful speaking with you.
All right,
guys.
we'll see. We'll go out here. I got a little bit more Jealous Lover. This is the one with Steve Winwood, the new Stone song. We're coming
Steve
back. Audio
Winwood.
cut of the day.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
I think Patti Smith co-wrote Because of the Night with Springsteen. No?
She
Let's
might have.
look it up.
No, he wrote that song and gave it to her.
Are you sure? Okay.
I'm positive.
You are a Springsteen dude. We have volume on the Illinois side, and it's on eastbound 5570 between 255 and 159, right there in that area, and it's a slow go. Also, northbound 255 is pretty slow at Horseshoe Lake Road. That also due to road work. And eastbound 64 is slowing between 255 and 157, and then it opens up. And if you're headed into downtown, eastbound 64 slows 170 through Big Bend. 70 westbound looks okay. It's really not bad. Eastbound, though, is slowing at 370, a report of an accident there. And out west, 64 looks pretty good. But eastbound 70, some moderate volume at Wentzville. That is all due to road work. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
She has a writing credit because she changed a couple lyrics. But it was a song that he recorded for Darkness on the Edge of Town. He didn't like the way that it sounded, so he literally gifted it to Patti Smith, and it became a big hit. And something that he's played in concert for the last 40 years as well.
We're here to celebrate America's 250th birthday in 2026. This is 97.1 FM Talk. America 250 is sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center.
Hey, I want you to make an appointment over at the Retirement Advisory Group because if you haven't done that, this is a great time. The market's been pretty good lately, but will that last? And what's going to happen as we get into the election? There's a lot of uncertainty. You don't want uncertainty, when it comes to your retirement. They're going to put you on a path where you're going to make sure that you have enough money to live on, to enjoy, to survive for the rest of your life. So we do these group seminars with Thomas Helbig and the team from the Retirement Advisory Group. It's a family-run operation. Thomas's nephew, Bob Kershaw, Bob's wife, Tammy, all involved. You know probably at this point that Mark and Annie and I do seminars with them 5 times a year. We don't have one on the calendar officially. Doesn't matter. You can go one-on-one, meet with Thomas. Don't put this off. It's very important. Maybe you have a little time, available next week, or you're taking some time off around the holidays. Get on the website, retirementkey.com. You can register there, or you can pick up the phone and call 314-993-9494. They're the official financial planners of this show, Thomas Helbig and the Retirement Advisory Group.
You feel it every time you check out. Prices up, paychecks stretched, families squeezed. That's why Ann Wagner's fighting to get government off your back and out of your way. Wagner passed the largest tax cut in American history, expanded child tax credits, ended taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security. And Wagner is working to lower costs so families keep more of their hard-earned money. But Ann Wagner knows delivering from Missouri means more than just protecting their wallets. It means protecting our streets as well. That's why Wagner fought to secure our border, deport dangerous illegal aliens, partner with law enforcement, and put predators behind bars and off our streets so our neighborhoods and communities stay safe. Because real effective leadership protects what matters most: your money, your family, your safety. Ann Wagner for Congress.
I'm Ann Wagner, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Ann Wagner for Congress.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis Conservative.
Sometimes I get to the end of the show and I have this little segment that we call Audio Cut of the Day, which is really one of my favorite segments, and I forget about it a little bit. So play this a little. These are those kids that I love from Columbia. They formed in Columbia, Missouri, Post-Sex Nachos, and they have a new record coming out soon, and I just love these guys. And they're coming to Del Mar Hall on Halloween night. So I have some choices here for Audio Cut of the Day. I'm actually not sure what to go with here this afternoon because I played you some of the Palisades, stuff from the jury found, well, it was a mistrial. What happened was there were 10 jurors that said not guilty. There were 2 that said guilty. So that ended up in a mistrial. But let's give it a whirl here, see what we can come up with.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the Audio Cut of the Day.
Okay, well, one thing that's happening is we are hitting Iran again because of the drone attack. So earlier today, the president addressed the drone attack on the tanker, and then right around 4 o'clock or so, Jen Griffin from Fox was reporting that we were hitting back.
Winning or anything, but they have some capability. They can still shoot. They shot a drone yesterday at a big ship going into the Hormuz Strait. They shot 4 of them. We knocked down 3 of them. One of them, I guess we didn't miss it. Nobody saw it coming, and it hit a ship and did some damage. But you can't do that stuff.
So we have told them that they can't do that stuff, and there is retaliation that is ongoing right now. The other thing that he addressed earlier today was the socialists winning in New York and how damaging that might be to the Democrats and to the country, I guess.
This spreads throughout the country, very much like an uncontrollable form of cancer. The country itself will be taken down. It will be third world, strictly third world. And it's happened many times before to very big and very powerful countries. But it's not going to happen to the United States of America.
Look, it's frightening. I like Van Jones a little bit on CNN. He tangles with Scott Jennings. He could not be more left-wing, but I don't think he's completely crazy, and he even is expressing concern.
To have somebody who, their main qualification for being in our party is they were celebrating after October 8th the murder of innocent Israelis, to have somebody in our party get the nomination whose main qualification is saying that there should be no police, no prisons, Israel shouldn't exist. This is a red flashing light.
Yeah, so I have to give Van Jones credit there because he's not trying to carry water for the socialists there, and there have been other Democrats that have been outspoken. Now, Van's in a position where he doesn't have to worry about primary voters. That's what's interesting. And Republicans have these challenges too, but they're not going out there and ripping on this stuff. I've heard Wesley Bell, come out and say, I'm taking a stand against socialism. Have you?
Nope.
No, because he's facing a socialist in Cory Bush that might be able to beat him based on what happened in New York City this week. So that I find, and we talked about it in the roundtable earlier, things are so quiet with everything right now. You're hearing some of the ads for Amendment 4 and Amendment 5, but after next weekend, there's a lot of money that these candidates and these campaigns have in the tank, and you're going to see you're going to be sick of ads within 4 weeks, and then we get a little break and right into the general election as well. Sue, you have a great weekend. I don't know if you have big plans or anything.
Going biking.
I'm doing a little pickleball, a little racquetball tomorrow, playing with the new kitten. You can follow Mark Talk on Instagram. Lots of pictures up there. Post-Sex Nachos. I love this band. We'll talk to you on Tuesday. I'm off on Monday.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Accident eastbound on 70 at 370, and it looks like somebody spun out in the left lane into the median. They've got the left lane blocked, and traffic is jammed behind it. Westbound 70 looks fine out of downtown. Eastbound a little slow at Wentzville. Well, it's not that bad, I should say. It's just a brief slowdown. 64 westbound has thinned out, but eastbound still has some volume. 170 past Big Bend. 55 is in pretty good shape, and we look good on the bridges, but 5570 eastbound or northbound is still slow at 159. 64 is still slow at 255. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Let me share some kind words here about Susan L. Ward, who's a family practice attorney. That means divorce attorney, but she really is awesome. I've gotten to know her over the years. She's a great sponsor of 97.1 FM Talk, but she's also someone that if you need in a situation where the marriage might be coming to an end, or even in areas post-divorce, because I've even mentioned this. I didn't know. I went through a divorce 2.5 decades ago, paid child support for many years. When my kids got of age, I think I even had it in my mind that was just going to vanish and will not be taken out of my paycheck. But you had to go back into court. You need an attorney to do those things. So post-divorce modifications, things like that, changes in circumstances, they can handle all of that. One of the things that I always like to emphasize with Susan is the level of experience. You need experience, I would say, in all areas of the law, but in this particular area, and I know this from firsthand experience, I hired someone who was a newbie, who didn't have experience. I think that kind of cost me in the long run. Did not give me confidence in the way that the case was being handled. Susan's the exact opposite. 783-9400, the website, stlfamilylaw.com. The focus on family law and the emphasis on you.
I'm Dr. Nick Barnes at Health From Within Family Chiropractic in Rock Hill. At Health